Hey, hello, hi, how are you, Gorge? How's it going? Everybody can hear me. That's great. I was just in the process of trying to get myself a cup of water, and then the music ended. So, right quick, I'm just gonna like fill up that cup of water, and then I'm gonna come back and say hello to everybody. I can see all of you. Hello. Okay, now we can begin. Okay, great. Got my water, got my lemon, got my coffee. Wow, I haven't done an early day stream in a while. It's it's a weird thing after a couple of months. So hello everybody. I hope that you're doing well. We have over in the YouTube chat Chum Guzzler. This is one of the streams of all time. True, very very true. Anjali, hello. But all is lost. We've got letters for Jupiter, Midnight Masquerade, Paul Hack, Zesty Voyage. Hello, and oh boy, I gotta get my chat open. Come on now. I'm all fucking discombobulated this morning. Okay, now that the chat is loading in, can you? All right, girl, why are you so slow today? Okay. Hello, Decoy Duck, and hello, Nouvenant. We've got Mersh and the Raccoon Pope. Hello. I watched Keffels watch an anti-Keffels thing, and I hate the internet. Oh, like Keffels reacted to some like anti-Keffels content. Why would you do that? Like, I don't know if I'm weird for this, but like I determined a long time ago. I was like, listen, I am never gonna watch like content about myself. Like, I used to get a lot of recommendations on my YouTube feed for Riley J. Dennis reaction content. And it is like, I just was like, this is so hateful. Like, it's so clearly hateful. Even the titles and the thumbnails are like, they're making me feel bad. And I had to like, you know, tell YouTube, like, stop recommending this channel to me over and over again until that shit went away. And that it was just very easy for me way back then to just be like, I am never going to watch content about myself. That just seems like a great way to invite a lot of negativity into your life. Keffels can be a little unfair to her critics sometimes. I think that she is fair toward the ones who actually are doing a lot of really egregious shit. I think that always in these situations there are going to be folks who are kind of actually giving genuine critical feedback that is intended to be constructive, and those people kind of get swept up. So if she's saying like, oh, all these people are like Nazi LARPers or something like that, well, clearly there's going to be some leftists in good faith who are going to be kind of getting caught up in that, swept up in that. What's up, Orchid? Hello. I miss Riley J. Dennis, says All Is Lost. She was one of the big channels I watched when I first came out. Right, she more recently has made... What was the last thing that I knew that Riley J. Dennis was doing was making Avatar content, like Avatar The Last Airbender. So I haven't actually checked in a while, though. What's she doing? What's she up to? Oh, I guess she hasn't posted in like a year or 2 years. Wait, what? Hold on. Oh, this is not the window that I want to be in. Oop, still not very organized this morning. Whoa, why is this page all weird now? Okay, here we go. Yeah, so the last video that she uploaded was like a year ago about She-Ra, and then she's just stopped making content since then. So that's a little bit of a bummer, TBH. I liked her content. I thought she was really interesting. And also, like, pretty sweet and wholesome. Like, she did not deserve anywhere near the hate that she got back in the day. But, however, I will say, now that there's one less person called Riley in the space of transness, that does make it easier to not get confused about who you're talking about. Because usually if I say Riley, I'm talking about Riley Grace Rochong. But Riley is a popular name, I've noticed, among the trans girls recently. You got your Lilies. You got your Persephones, you know. And your Rileys. Well, anyway, today we do have the one main thing on the docket. Obviously, we usually chill and hang out for a bit first. So if you're here and you're hanging out and you're enjoying yourself, consider hitting the like button. That'll give us a little boost right up here at the top of the stream, because an influx of likes from you always correlates to an influx of viewers to the stream. So bring more people to hang out. RGR has basically gone to, yeah, Krebs. She's just focusing on her offline activism, and I don't know if y'all remember, wow, roughly like a month or two ago, we covered how she's on some board, some advisory board or something, and the person who was in charge of the whole thing, like, quit, like rage quit basically, because Riley and all the other people were like a couple members had left and they weren't bringing in new people, and like by way of doing that, they were like consolidating power amongst fewer people, and like not being as receptive to community feedback and stuff like that. Like just basically like Riley Grace Rochong doing like a gradual hostile takeover of some LGBT organization that she was on the board of. So, you know, she's gone from our little sphere of the internet, but she's certainly out there still doing her thing as usual. But have you all been having a good weekend so far? I have had, I basically just chilled for a lot of the day yesterday. I got like some excellent work done on Friday. Did I end up having cramps on Friday? I've had some serious, deeply painful cramps this week. I'm still, apparently for the first like 0 to 6 months after you get an IUD, it's normal to have like cyclical cramping. And it is one of the most painful things that I've experienced in my life. And it just is constant for like 3 hours when I get these like cramping attacks. So that is certainly something that puts a wrench in any productivity attempts being made. So yesterday I ended up not getting as much done as I would like because of that reason, and for most of the week as well. Wow, it's just normal too, apparently. Like the doctor was like, or like the nurse lady who installed my IUD was like, just take some Aleve. And like I've tried ibuprofen, I've tried Tylenol, I've tried Aleve, I've tried Tylenol and ibuprofen at the same time, and they just don't take the edge off at all. And this is just normal. Like, I'm sorry, I know this is not like the most engaging topic or whatever. I just like, it's crazy how fucked up we treat people with uteruses, medically speaking. Like the fact that it's just okay for me to be in like screaming pain. Like I can't scream because I live near other people, right? Like I live in a unit. And there are, like, I can't just scream. So I'm like trying to like keep my shit together, and I'm still like vocalizing, like, which I've never done before. Like I don't usually have to vocalize through my pain. Yeah, but so it's horrendous. And it also, I don't remember what day it was, but there was one day this week that I was dealing with these IUD cramps, and the pain would come and it would stay, and then it would finally stop after like a couple minutes, and I would just like break down crying. Like 3 times that happened in one day earlier this week, and this is just considered normal. So I might get in touch with my real doctor and not the nurse who mismanaged my care pretty severely. I might get in touch with my real doctor and be like, hey bro, like I just got to tell you, from a person who can understand what this is like to a person who doesn't understand, but like I hope that you would be willing to listen to me. You can't do this to people. Like you just can't, like you just really cannot yank someone's cervix around with a claw and then and then they just have to deal with crazy painful cramps for up to 6 months, and that's just considered like par for the course. Take some fucking a leave. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, so that's kind of like the main thing that I had to deal with this whole week. And I'm hoping that, because it seems like maybe there's a mild period that's happening now. Maybe it will be done for a few weeks, hopefully. But yeah, the shitty thing, yeah, bro, yeah. Sorry, I just kind of reflexively said, bro, you're a they them. Yes, Raccoon Pope. Yeah. So in order to find out how accommodating your uterus is going to be to the IUD, like if your shit is too small or if it's at a weird angle or something, like the IUD can hurt you. So they don't want to install it if you don't have the space. So I believe that this could have been accomplished by an ultrasound, but because the ultrasound costs like $250, I'm uninsured. Like, so I think that they were just like, well, I'm gonna manually determine if your uterus is big enough, and I'm getting stressed. Look at me. I'm getting all yeah, so in order to tell if it was going to be safe to put the IUD in me, they like grabbed this metal claw. It's called a teniculum, I think. And they grab the uterus and like move it around like 4 times. And that, my friends, was the most fucked up thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life. And I was abused as a child. Like, you know, like I've had a lifetime of fucked up shit happen to me, and that's the most fucked up thing that's ever happened to me. Yeah, getting your guts rearranged, actually. Yup. My screen keeps lagging. Maybe give a little refresh. That might help. Yeah, so I might just talk to my doctor and be like, bro, like, why is it not normal that I have why is it not normal to give someone pain management, like, in order to deal with this? Anyway, oh yeah, no, you're fine, Em. Don't worry about it. You're not bothering me at all. I want my guts rearranged, but not like that. Exactly. Like, I feel lucky that I don't have some kind of aversion to being touched anymore, you know? Like, but no, thankfully it did not significantly fuck up my sex life. Just, it did give me some issues with going to the medical place that I went to. So that's cool. You know, like right when you cure your trauma by doing really intensive therapy, and then as soon as you get done with the intensive therapy, like several fucked up traumatizing things happen to you right in a row. Like, my cat died. That is something that can cause trauma. And I didn't have the opportunity to correctly process my cat dying because, like, a month after my cat died, my partner was like, I want to divorce you, which took priority. And so the thing that causes traumas to, like, get stuck in you is not being able to process them. So I feel like I haven't had an adequate opportunity to process like any of the fucked up things that have happened to me. Oh, and also I got the IUD installed and like went into shock for several hours that night during the time that my partner was like, I for sure want to divorce you and I hate you. So it's been a very fucked up year. Oh, Jimsy, I don't actually have the answer to this question. Jimsy asks if anybody knows of Republican candidates who openly want to cut social programs. That's like not really the thing that I've been focusing on this electoral cycle, unfortunately. But yeah, so anyway, I'm just like processing, like I think that whenever I get these really intense cramps, like I think that they evoke what was going on, like when I got the IUD installed, like, and how like fucked up that day was and stuff like that. So I think that's part of what makes it to where my emotional regulation is also really messed up during these weeks. Because boy howdy, I've also been really angry. And I'm realizing like I don't want to be like that. And I've certainly been letting myself be like that a lot. And you know, we're in a very big personal growth period of time, I feel. Hey Wellington, how's it going? One reason they don't give powerful pain meds is because you'll not be able to drive or navigate your way home. So you need someone to take you home. So sorry for your experience. Here's the thing, Wellington. I almost threw up in my car on the way home. Like I went into shock. So I feel like sending someone home to drive while they're in shock is also probably a great recipe for a car accident. Yeah. Like too fucking bad it's a procedure that has to have a someone. Like, oh well, you know, like they should have asked me whether that was a priority. You know what I mean? I guess that's just like a miniature update. I am still moving, by the way. It remains to be seen whether we're getting divorced. Just a mini update. Still not really going into a huge amount of details about everything, but that's what's going on in my little life right now. The GOP has been talking about either cutting or eliminating Social Security and Medicare. They want to push full coverage up to 70 years old as well. Really? The D word is always a rough one to have dropped on you. Yeah, for sure. So. No, Anansi, like, I didn't mean to say, like, my partner explicitly said that he hates me. That's not what I meant to say. Just the vibes, you know, just the behavior, you know. Yeah, it's an easy fix and a BS reason, but it is one of the reasons healthcare in the US is fucked, for sure. Went through it 5 years ago, never fun. Yeah. So, again, I don't actually know if the paperwork part is going to happen, but, you know, at the very minimum, we're moving. I'm excited about that. It's a lot to have to move out of after living with someone for 12 years, but I am getting excited about it because I get to decorate my own apartment however I want. Do you notice how I wear a fucking hoodie in every single stream? That's because I have no control over the thermostat because my partner gets migraines. So I have to just be cold. And in my new place, I will get to set the thermostat. And I'm so excited about that. Right? Friend of mine got dumped right after he bought a house for them to live in. Oh, fuck. Well, it's his house. At least he's got a house now. Should be good once you're settled. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good winter. I am excited. I mean, really, like, I'm going to be hunkering down. So I guess I'm just excited to be able to explore that solitude. Like, what am I going to do when I have no influences on my time, you know? I got fun trauma of my own. Yeah. It's not good. Like, going through a breakup or whatever is, like, not the most fun thing in the first place. And then if you add on to it that you're not the person who wants to be going through the breakup, and it's just so much worse. Oh my God. A coworker once had a divorce before all of the wedding pictures came back. Divorced in a month. Wow. You think you know somebody? Holy shit. Wow, that's crazy. Living alone is literally the best. I'm excited to do it because I've never done it before. I was living with my parents and then I moved into living with my partner and literally have never lived alone or have had a roommate. My housemate is a thermostat authoritarian, plus their partner is here from England, so they're being weird about stupid shit. Yeah. Like, his office is incidentally just like one of the warmest rooms in our place. So it's just always cooler out here than it is over there. Jimsy said, "I think I'm too insecure for politics. I get emotional when I lose a conversation with conservative family. I question my intelligence after every engagement, and I just want it to stop." I mean, you don't have to do it for sure. Mostly what I do is I just expose myself to a lot of different viewpoints and like a lot of different arguments, and I just kind of pick the ones that seem more convincing. What the fuck do you do when they just throw fake news at you? I mean, you can't really do a lot. Like, I mean, I guess one of the things that you can do is undermine the credibility of their sources. So if you could like demonstrate some way in which Fox News, for example, was blatantly hypocritical or something like that, you know, because I mean, it's basically the only thing you can do. Like, oh yeah, my source, the fucking CDC, is fake news, whereas fucking Tucker Carlson's dipshit ass whatever, like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like something along those lines. And like, I think one of the things that you can really do when you're arguing with conservatives, yeah, you cannot convince someone who's not open to being convinced. That's one thing. Actually, I've been thinking about that recently, Max. Thank you for bringing it up, because I want to touch back on that in a second. Where was I? Oh yeah. One of the things that you can do is make their people look like idiots. I think is something that it is kind of useful to do. Just being like, hey man, like, you know, the person who you think is so great and smart is actually a complete fucking moron, and like substantiating that. Because they're kind of invested in being like, oh, well, I am so smart and right for believing this. I am getting validation from the smart man that I look up to. And if you're like, if you make a joke of that person, it makes them feel like, wait, like, have I like picked someone who's worthy of ridicule to try to emulate? Like, are my beliefs worthy of ridicule? Like, ridicule makes people feel bad. You know what I mean? If you can be like, if you can basically turn that shit around. What do I do when peeps come at me with Fox BS? Oh, what I do when people come at me with Fox News BS is ask, how does that work? Where is the source for that? How do you know that's true? That is another good point. Oh, sorry, Anansi. I didn't mean to blow up your spot. Cryptid Furry, not Fury. Welcome to the website. I appreciate you hanging out. Had a great chat with my mom and stepdad about trans stuff and transitioning kids. They were really open to it, and I explained why maybe some people, no matter how popular or interesting they seem, are still spreading misinformation. That's awesome. I'm really glad that people are able to make progress with their older family members and like make them amenable to what we're all about, because that is, I mean, it's really important, right? But yeah, Max, you brought up, you can't convince someone not open to convincing. I've been thinking about this pretty often lately, actually, with regards to the oh my gosh, all these like anti-trans kid people, like all these people who are like, you are transing the kids, like it's unsafe for them, like you can't trans them, like this is a grooming cult or whatever. Like, I've been thinking about these people and how they respond to evidence, like, and how they just blatantly reject it a lot of the time. And it reminds me a little bit of, oh God, this is going to be a throwback. Are you guys ready for a throwback? This one's going to make you feel old, because I'm going to have to look up the year that this happened. Do y'all remember when Bill Nye debated Ken Ham? Back at the Creation Museum? Buddies, my horties. My dear sweet Horties. That was in 2014. That was 8 years ago. So, 8 years ago, when Bill Nye and Ken Ham debated, one of the things that Bill asked Ken was, like, what would it take to change your mind? Like, what would it take to convince you? And Ken Ham basically just straight up said, like, nothing is going to convince me. Like, there is nothing that could change my mind. Like he didn't even think, like, I don't even think he said, like, a new revelation from God would be, like, if Jesus Christ himself came back and told us to edit or add to the Bible. Like, he didn't even come up with something fantastical and impossible. He just straight up said, nothing will change my mind about the Bible, and creation and everything. So, yeah, it's like, I wonder a bit, like I wonder a bit if these transphobes are basically the same as that. And, like, should we be asking that more often? Should we more frequently be like, is there something that would change your mind? Like, what would make you think that putting kids on puberty blockers is a good thing, morally or ethically or medically, you know? What evidence would it take to convince you that this is appropriate? And I just think that most transphobes would say nothing. Like, I just have no reason to believe that they are intellectually honest enough to be able to engage with conflicting viewpoints in any good faith way. "2014 is a crystal clear year personally. Great year for Yu-Gi-Oh gamers." Telling people's stories is always powerful. I mean, I will see people, like, ridicule children. Like, oh shit, I can't remember her name. There's this one girl who, gosh, I actually think that she's from Kansas. I think that maybe I have, like, a friend of a friend situation where I could meet this little girl. She came out when she was a kid, and she's been really vocally outspoken about it, and people will just, like, make fun of her and, like, make weird comments about her body and stuff like that, you know? Like, it doesn't... People who don't have empathy for trans people, like, I don't know how... Yeah, emotions are typically going to win over logic. Yeah, but you can't force someone to have empathy or compassion. Broadly, I would say that is the more effective tactic. So I don't want to poo-poo it. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say, like, oh, I don't want to support that, because I do think that making the emotional argument is going to work. And I make the emotional argument frequently, like almost all the time when we're talking about trans kids. I'm like, I was a trans kid, and I wish that I had like a therapist who knew about transness, and like someone who could talk to me about the options and risks about hormones and stuff, you know, like, although in some regards, like, I do think it's possible that I would have made different decisions that maybe I would feel differently about now. Like, it's possible I would have gotten top surgery at a much earlier age, but I don't know, because the whole thing is that I would have needed a gender therapist. Like, it took me, God, how long did it take me? Like the better part of a decade of thinking about whether or not I wanted top surgery before I was finally like, no, for sure, I don't want top surgery. And, you know, I wish that I had been able to come to that conclusion sooner, or any conclusion about it, I guess, because I just kind of dealt with it internally for a long time, you know? So it's like, I'm not only lamenting that I didn't have puberty blockers that maybe would have like stopped my periods and helped me be a little bit more emotionally stable as a teenager trying to deal with this, you know, like, it's also that I wish that I had a knowledgeable psychologist or whatever to be involved. I am getting better at passing. Yeah, that's good. Y'all are having a whole conversation over here. I'm not even paying attention. I'm in a weird place with regards to top surgery. In an ideal world, I would have taken puberty blockers so my chest didn't grow, but I've become attached to it despite the dysphoria. It's tricky, right? I am like, I'm like now very much like, I like my body. I like my chest the way that it is. I'm not always comfortable with the words that other people use to describe their bodies, but I do like my body the way that it is for the most part. And I'm glad that I have gotten to that point, you know? That's also therapy, like, more broadly. Even not gender-specific therapy can really help you with your self-esteem, you know? Oh my god, yeah, remember the Greta Thunberg, if you're old enough to fight climate change, you're old enough for me to sexualize you tweets from conservatives? God, they're such fucking pedos. It's ridiculous. Greta is a pretty good litmus test for malicious sociopaths. I don't want to throw sociopaths under the bus because that seems like a very difficult thing to deal with, but, you know. I think we'll need an entire generation of gender-affirming care to make any decisions on what is best for preteen transitioning. My guess would be that meds slash surgery would be okay before puberty. I think that we have still... Like, I think that, wow, I feel like I'm so fucking slow today. I haven't eaten enough, I don't think. Hold on. I think that we already have, like, a couple generations of people having received gender-affirming care as children. I just don't think that there are very many, like, compared to what there probably will be from this point forward. Yes, hail hydrate, for sure. Land without grass is still grass. True. Can you even do surgery before puberty? Not really. At least not for, well, that's not true. I actually think that you probably could do vaginoplasty before surgery if you did peritoneal pull through. Here's the thing about like surgery at a super young age is that with something like vaginoplasty, like if you do penile inversion vaginoplasty, you have to do it after some amount of pubertal development because otherwise the PP, you know, it is tiny and you are not going to get very much depth if you try to invert the tiny baby PP into a vagina. So like Janet Mock, for example, is an author who was affirmed as a child and had gender affirming bottom surgery when she was like 18, I think, or maybe a little bit younger than that. And she had to have like testosterone therapy specifically to make her genitals grow so that they could be inverted into a vagina. Now, so there's that. Additionally, I think that, you know, peritoneal pull through as a method for vaginoplasty is possible. But it would be like, you know, the reason why my mom didn't let me get my ears pierced when I was like 8 years old was that my body was going to continue changing. And she's like, they might be even when you get the piercings now, but like if you continue to grow and your ears change shape, then they won't be in the right place anymore, right? So I could see there being an argument there that if you do vaginoplasty on someone who's too young, there might not be enough going on. Like, but we do this to like intersex kids, you know. I know of one intersex person who had vaginoplasty forcibly done on them at like age 11. But I also don't know if they have enough depth to use for like typical sex. I don't know. It's tricky. It's really tricky. It took me about 10 years to decide that I wanted a radical reduction, which in conjunction to my broad shoulders and mask build, I feel like it gives me a nice neutral place to add on or take away in terms of expressions. It does, there are some worries about harassment, which I got even before that. I'm grateful I was able to get it though. Yeah, part of what ultimately made me determine that I didn't want to get top surgery was being in groups with people who were getting radical reductions. and being like, oh, like my chest size is someone else's goal because I can whip out the titty, like I can put on a bra or put on a bodice and just like cleavage. Or I can wear baggy clothes or put on a binder and be like, my chest is hidden. Like it's androgynous the way that it is. Like here's the thing that really did it for me conceptually is that we tend to think of the chest area as being like, it's a 1 or a 0. Either you have breast material and that is feminine, or you don't have any significant breast material and that is masculine, within some margins of error for like fat men. Okay. We tend to think of chests as like either there's boobies or there's not boobies. And that is, it's a dichotomy. But like in reality, like someone with small boobs technically has an androgynous feature because their chest is not quite flat, but it's also not quite what you would typically expect from like boobs to look like. So yeah, it was really like my ability to conceptualize of my chest as being inherently androgynous because of the ability for me to easily switch between, you know what I mean? And yeah, like again, I would like credit to, I guess, all those people there in those groups who were getting radical reductions, whose surgical results looked like my chest, which made me feel affirmed about my body. And like, if like my body can be desirable to specific things for specific reasons, like, so yeah, that helped me a lot with feeling good about my body. I don't think bottom surgery is indicated for anyone before post-puberty, but that still means it could be accessible for 15, 16-year-old. Yeah, for sure. That's pretty much what I think. What's up, Slaps Hungry Bears? How's it going? And Mickey, hello! Welcome in, everyone. I hope that you all have had a good week, or however long that it's been since we last saw you. Wait, what's the fountain test, Max? I missed you saying, I like the fountain test for detecting fascists. What is that? I liked the picture of DeSantis recently partying with underage girls and drinking with them while he was a private school teacher. Interesting that he throws the groomer label around when he was definitely doing it himself. Yeah, let's actually go ahead and talk about that because that's on my list for today. By the way, if you're here and you haven't hit like on the stream, I know that we're kind of faffing about, but we will get to the important news in a little bit, you know? I enjoy the parts where we just kind of have free-flowing conversation between us. That is something that I value greatly. I was looking up the DeSantis thing. Oh, actually, yeah, hold on. Here we go. So, oh my God, I'm in the wrong window again. God. I cannot get my shit together today. Okay. So remember that time Ron DeSantis was a teacher in a private high school and he went to parties with the kids where there was underage drinking and he took pictures cozied up with the girls who were not at all at age of consent? Pepperidge Farm does. So that's Ron DeSantis with some high school girls drinking. Let's see. I think that there was an article. Yeah, here we go. Former students of Ron DeSantis said he was a, quote, total jock who partied with students and thought it was, quote, very special that he graduated from Yale. So Ron DeSantis spent a year after college teaching at a private school in Georgia. So he had just left college, I guess. I think in your mind that makes you feel like, oh, you're just one of the kids still because you're just out of college, but you're just fucking very profoundly not. Like so much not. There's 54 concurrent viewers and only 40 likes. I'm sorry, I'm gonna shame you now at this point. Come on. So former students said that he had a smug air about him and was a, quote, total jock who partied with students. Some students recalled DeSantis fondly, while others remembered, quote, unthinkable pranks he pulled on students. Governor Ron DeSantis once spent a year teaching. He was at that time a 23-year-old graduate from Yale University. He used to tell his students that he was bound for the White House. Oh my God, no. God, no. Like, I feel like the gif of Michael Scott just like, no, like just screaming it. I don't want to be loud right now. But oh my God. Oh my God. He was a total jock. That was his personality. He was definitely proud that he graduated Ivy and thought he was very special. DeSantis taught at Darlington, which enrolled 750 students from kindergarten to high school. Wow, you taught? What? Was that one? What? All right, whatever. During the 2001-2002 school year, tuition, room, and board at the school. Oh, okay, so it's a boarding school with like all ages up to like from 5 years old all the way up to 18. That seems like a bad thing to do. I don't know. 500-acre campus costs $50,000, like tuition, room, and board today at this place. Just like his idol Trump, true. Uncommon Horty L, true. Okay, you've all picked it up a little bit better now. Thank you. A reminder that these far-right Southern politicians came from Yale and Harvard. DeSantis, Cruz, Hawley. Oh my God, you know DeSantis likes his women barefoot, pregnant, and 14. Can you imagine a DeSantis as president in 2028? Listen, I've kind of backed off of the whole, like, I need to get the fuck out of this country thing on account of, like, the whole separating from my partner thing just, like, became a way more important thing immediately to deal with. But I am thinking about next year. Like, I signed this lease, and there's going to be a deadline for next year of, like, by this time, I need to know whether or not I'm renewing that lease. And at this time, I'm thinking, like, probably not. Like, I'm probably just going to make those plans sort of depending on how, depending on how the midterm elections turn out, basically. Like, we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure at this time. Anyway, continuing on with this, he was definitely one of the cooler guys, says a former student, Trip Barnes. Trip. There were other young teachers who tried to be everybody's friend who didn't have nearly his mystique. Creepy. Barnes described DeSantis, who coached football and baseball, as, quote, very smart and charismatic, noting that, quote, people liked him. Some other students recalled the governor differently, telling them that he had a bit of a superiority complex. He was kind of smug, graduated from Ivy League school. It was just like I'm better than you, and we were all just kids. A spokesperson for DeSantis did not respond. Multiple students told The Times that DeSantis frequented parties with Darlington High School seniors and attended some events with graduates where alcohol was served. As an 18-year-old, I remember thinking, what are you doing here, dude? One former student said, speaking only on the condition of anonymity out of fear. Former students also recalled an incident in which DeSantis dared a student who bragged about the quantity of milk he could drink to chug as much as he could in one sitting. The student complied and proceeded to throw up in front of dozens of other students. That's some frat boy bullshit to do. Like, that's like very clearly frat behavior. It's just, Jesus. I think about it now, and I'm a teacher in public school, says Adam Moody, a former student who witnessed the incident. He says, I put myself in that moment, and it's just unthinkable. There's a cruelty to the sense of humor. There's a cruelty to the mentorship. Some students had positive memories of DeSantis, helped us out there on the field. Yeah, whatever. So, like, the people who interacted with him as, like, sports people were like, oh my God, I loved him so much as a coach. And then, like, pretty much everybody else is like, did you not see all the fucked up behavior that he was engaging in? Yeah, he's the kind who had everyone call him coach, even in classrooms. Fascism is on the rise kind of everywhere. It just depends on how the government and population deal with the fascists. Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like, you know, like Canada, like how much farther behind is Canada in the genocide toward trans people realm? You know what I mean? And like the fascism realm. Oh my god, excuse me. Of course a Trip would say that. Exactly, Trip. Oh boy. This is the kind of things that teacher certification courses and student teaching are supposed to weed out. He was not fit to be a teacher. He has no place telling teachers how to conduct themselves professionally. I mean, this is the thing with these people. It's like every accusation is a oh god, fuck, what's the word? Every accusation and admission. Every time they accuse us of something, it's something that they've done. So DeSantis accuses teachers of being inappropriate with students because he's done that before. How much have I missed? We're mostly just faffing about. We're talking right now about Ron DeSantis drinking beer with high school seniors when he was a teacher. Every accusation is a confession. Yeah, a confession and admission. It's all projection. Yeah, for sure. I gotta drink some water. Hail, hydrate, babes. Ooh. That lemon hits. Boy, howdy. Yeah, for sure, Wreckage. Thank you. Yeah, I just washed it yesterday. Actually, I just cut my hair, too. I cut it, and so it's all short and smooth now. It's crazy how much faster, like how much more often I cut my hair now that I just get to do it by myself and not have to go pay someone. And then I also cut, like 3 inches off my hair. Like, yeah, I cut a bunch off the end of my hair because I had split ends and stuff and I wanted it to be even. But now it's shorter. Like not noticeable at all to you because my hair still just like descends off screen. I just think of European countries and how there's fascists there, but with good policies and education, it's hard for them to gain ground. It's honestly one of the few things that make it hard for me to completely identify as an anarchist. I think just because some states do a better job than others doesn't mean that states are a good idea. But we don't need to go into a whole anarchist thing this week. We're working on catching up with the editing and everything. So I have a video that I'm going to be putting up soon where we went into the anarchism thing this past week. I don't know if y'all remember. That was a fire segment. I had a lot of fun. I don't normally talk about my political beliefs like that. And it's interesting as that's changed and grown over the last while. Wow. I'm positive I read the other day that Rishi Sunak suggested taking trans people out of the Equality Act 2010. Isn't Rishi Sunak like, wasn't he formerly like anti-gay or something like that? Like a fairly conservative Indian prime minister, right? Like that's basically the extent of what I know about Rishi Sunak. I need to do another podcast episode with my friend Kat, who lives in the UK, so that maybe she can appraise me of some of these things. We just keep having technical difficulties. Can you imagine trying to record a fucking podcast with someone who lives in the UK when you live in America? Like, it's 6 hours later for her. So I generally just try to message her like as soon as I wake up. And I'm like, hey, are you going to be ready to do this in a couple hours? Because if it's like 10 a.m. my time, then it's like 4 p.m. her time. And then we're trying to call over Discord. And like, if it's raining seriously in either of the places that we live, like, then we won't be able to have a good enough call quality to talk to each other. It's a whole thing. If it makes you more inclined to be an anarchist, Sweden is making a hard right turn despite everything. Yikes. Auguste says, I'm French. 2 out of the 3 main political groups here are fascists. One of the 2 is center-right, and the last one is, or one of the remaining 2 is center-right, and the last one is left-wing, but gets bashed by the media constantly. That's fucked. You have to anticipate what she's going to say so many hours in advance for the audio to match up. That's got to be rough. I know, it's crazy. It is the weirdest game of telephone. The media is talking about the right-wing fascists like it's a better solution than the, quote, left-wing extremists. That's what they fucking always do. It like it's like the neoliberal media's position in a fascist nation is to make the fascists seem like oh fuck, where was it? Hold on. Fuck. I gotta pull this up. I think I shared this on here. Hold on. Where is it? It was about fascism. Okay, yeah, here it is. So, I'm not gonna show it to you because it's on my Facebook. This person says, I feel like too many people don't recognize fascism because they think fascism will arrive selling oppression and tyranny. But if you're part of the privileged group, fascism is selling you safety, normalcy, and tradition. So like the role of the media in a fascist nation is to sell you that concept that the fascist party is going to make things safe. They're going to bring security to your neighborhood. You won't have to worry about anything. You know, these crime rates are going to go way down. Just trust us. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so see, the alt-right are just firm in their traditional beliefs, quote unquote, but left-wing groups are immediately extremists trying to trans your children. Yeah. So I don't know. That's just kind of my prerogative. Family and Christian values. Yeah. Like the Muslims are attacking your religious freedom and the atheists want to stop you from being able to pray over your dinner in your house at night. You know, like anything to make it seem like there's an enemy that you need to be protected from also. The peeps like Caleb Maupin and Luna Oi don't help. I know some about Luna Oi, but I don't know very much about Caleb Maupin. I heard that Caleb Maupin was like gone from the internet for a bit because there was just now on Twitter like some like I'm back bitches or whatever. Like I don't know what the fuck he was saying. Hearing regressives rant about extremist liberals. And like, damn, trying to trans your children sounds like you're not teaching your kid about gender, so yeah, how dare you? Oh, this one's just for funsies. This one is also not on my docket of stream notes. Listen, I have way more energy during an early day stream. I'm going to change my sleep schedule after I move, so I'll have more energy in the evenings. But like, I'm enjoying fucking around right now and talking about nothing especially important. Like I'm giving my commentary and stuff, I guess it's just not like the formally structured shit that I have prepared in my notes. So this isn't in my notes, but we're talking about it anyway. Hashtag first do no harm. I found out today that my 25-year-old daughter, yes, daughter, who's been taking testosterone for 3 years, now walks with a walking stick, thanks to, quote, gender-affirming care. Like, what did Malcolm just say? This is the most deranged case of trans broken arm syndrome I've seen in a while. True. Like, yeah, research shows that HRT does not lead to loss of bone density and can actually increase bone density, so it's not the testosterone that did this. There are people down here who are saying, like, well, if you give a female testosterone, it's going to cause early onset menopause. And it's like, no, you fucking idiot. That's not how this works at all. Like, and also, yeah, so the very same testosterone that TERFs say gives women an unfair athletic advantage also apparently causes brittle bones in trans men. Like, is the bone density not one of the things that they refuse to fucking shut up about when they're talking about how trans women have a supposedly unfair advantage? Like, oh, she got dense bones, though. Like, well, then if a female was on testosterone, it would make the bones bigger, like thicker, denser, more bones. Can confirm only women can walk. True. Oh my god. Transphobes. Testosterone bestows trans women with permanent physical superiority over cis women. Also, whoa, wrong direction. I was trying to make it bigger. Also transphobes. Testosterone damages your ability to walk. That's why men walk with sticks or something. I like how many people in here are like, yeah, your son, you mean? Correlation doesn't equal causation. Is this what he told you was the cause after doctors told him it was the cause? Or more likely, are you just jumping to make the link because it fits your transphobic narrative rather than caring about the truth? Didn't she also say that they haven't been talking to each other for... Maybe some people were doing some conjecture that they haven't spoken to each other for 3 years. Or, I'm just like, I assume that this person is estranged from their kid. I found out today. Like, yeah, this makes it sound like I found out from a third party that my kid was taking, or that my kid is using a walking stick. It's like, it doesn't really sound like my kid told me today that they've started using a walking stick. This kind of has the ring of like, this is like how my mom would tweet about me. Like, full disclosure, my mom was abusive and I fucking don't talk to her anymore. Not over trans related stuff, just, you know, more general physical abuse that started way before I knew I was trans. And this is like the kind of thing that she would have to do is like, I found out, like, this is like my mom, like, found out probably from a third party that I was married 10 years ago, you know? Like, I didn't tell her. I was like, if I ever have a child, you're never meeting them because fuck you. If you ever try to meet my kid, we're gonna have some serious problems, lady. I'm taller than her now. That's pretty much when things changed for me. When I became taller than her. All right, let's switch back here. Caleb is like Laris using his power to indulge his fetish. Wait, what? Who the fuck? Wait, what? Caleb Maupin got accused with a lot of receipts of using his cult to take advantage of women. The cult aspect of it was also highlighted. Okay, thank you, Rohan. Or is it Rowan? Rowan? What's up, Kara? The way she phrased it also kind of makes it sound like the walking stick is gender affirming for them. Kind of, yeah. Yeah, walks with a walking stick thanks to gender affirming care. It's trans-abled now. Listen, I hear about Caleb Maupin. Like, I hear his name and I get the general idea that he's a bad person. But listen, there are like really only so many issues that I can care about, and so sometimes I just don't check. Like, sometimes I just don't follow up and find out like what actually is wrong with this person, you know? But feel free. I mean, like, do I need to know about Caleb Maupin? Either pronunciation. Okay, cool. Maupin is an anti-Semite and a wannabe cult leader. Okay. It's basically like like Caleb Maupin, Nick Fuentes, like, these are all in my mind basically just the same person. They're all neo-fascists, and like, they're basically all like, I just don't know any details about any of them enough to distinguish them from one another. I feel like that news hit me with a brick from like 5 different people. Kind of old news. Yeah, I kind of got the impression that whatever scandal like is already done and people are like making fun of him all the time. He took advantage of all of his followers, but did gross sex stuff too. You don't need to know about him. Thank you, Rowan. I think Maupin is less charismatic than Fuentes, a bit less of a threat than Fuentes. Decoy Duck says, I taught some of Fuentes' former high school colleagues when they went to college. They did not think highly of him. The biggest impact is the tanky followers that are now free from his grasp and just as crazy. Ooh. Exciting. But yeah, no, why do people think, like, what in your mind would connect these two things? I think the only way that you could believe this is if you do think that taking testosterone causes menopause instead of like not enough hormones causing menopause. Well, really, why do people think? It's true. He's a sub. That's all you need to know. A ghost. Oh my God. I think that a lot of these right-wingers are like, they're not just subs. I think they're cucks, you know? I think that they really genuinely like are people with humiliation fetishes to some extent. Moppin likes to be spanked. He says, give it to me, mommy. We gotta make sure Jess isn't here. Hold on. Oh no. Wait, is that basically what happened? Oh yeah, I'm a cuck and very left-wing. Cuckoldry is hot. I don't have an issue with cuckoldry. I'm just saying that like they are... Like I'm saying that they have a humiliation fetish. Like that they want to be humiliated and that they're doing it publicly. It's RGR, you know, like they're including us in their kink without consent. Long grooming rants about corporal punishment. Oh my God, that's horrendous. I'm learning so much today. I'm truly learning so much. What a beautiful day. He was a sex pest to his female followers. I would not be surprised by that. Oh gosh, should we maybe get started on the actual news, do you think? Do you think we should maybe get started on the actual topic for the day's stream? We're a little bit more than an hour in. And I don't really have any serious plans for after stream, so if I have the energy, we might go for like 3 or 4 hours today. Wouldn't that be fun? That's my breakfast. Carnation instant breakfast. Okay. So yeah, so first of all, before we get into... Let's move on to foot fetish. Anjali, do I need to do foot Fridays on my Fansly account? I am considering it already. I did post a set of photos on there this past week, if you want to check that out. But before we get into the news about Florida, which we are going to do momentarily, I wanted to remind you all about the U.S. Trans Survey. If you are a trans person or a detrans person who's living in the United States and who has, who lives in the United States or who is living abroad as a U.S. citizen, you should take the U.S. Trans Survey. It will take you about 30 to 90 minutes. It is going to ask you some difficult questions, so you should have some hot cocoa or something ready. Get yourself like a nice movie to curl up and watch after you're done or something, because it is going to ask you stuff about like your lifetime history with sexual assault and like how did your family react when you came out and shit like that. So it can be a little bit tricky, but it's so worth it to have your statistics like out there in like as part of the data set, so you can be like, oh wow, I didn't know that 58% of non-binary people with female on their birth certificate have been sexually assaulted over the course of their life. Like, I am in the demographic of trans people who has the highest reported rates of lifetime sexual assault, and I have been sexually assaulted. So it's like, wow, I got to contribute to that number. Yay! But yes, no, I would imagine that many of you were not yet out when the survey was last done in 2015. So this might be your first opportunity. And I really encourage you to check that out and participate in that. Caleb Maupin exploited a follower of his cult, made her lose her job, had her do sex work for him, spread rumors about her amongst the other cult members. Wow, that's fucked up. All right, let me get my hair up. So now that we've talked about the U.S. Trans Survey for a second, we're about to talk about the Florida situation. Let me go ahead and do this. So, oh my God, there's so much shit in my throat. It doesn't help that I was drinking chocolate milk. Okay, hold on. That one had nothing to do with hydration, but we do need caffeination as well. I completed it. I completed it shortly after the last stream I was on for. Hell yes. He forced people into sex work so that they could spank him for free while giving him money. That's fucked. Love the fresh cut. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. So, if you all have not been keeping tabs on this, as I have, we had a Florida Board of Medicine meeting where they were having like public comment on a decision that they were trying to make. You know, they were trying to basically restrict the rights of trans teens from having access to medical care, such as puberty blockers. There may be other limitations that are even more egregious. Like, there was the suggestion that they create a state registry of all the trans people, like of all the trans kids at least. Now, wow, bad time. That's not a good thing when the government wants a registry of a group of undesirable people. So they were holding these public meetings where people would come and say, I want this to pass, or I don't want this to pass. Like, you should let trans kids transition, or you should not let trans kids transition, right? So they held these big meetings, and this, frankly, is going to be a monster of a segment because we're going to end up like kind of glossing over some things, but there is so much to go through because these hearings were long and there were multiple people live tweeting through the meetings and like looking at the live stream and stuff. And at some point the live stream was like inundated and barely functional. Like, it was just basically impossible to watch. So Zinnia Jones is someone whose work I've been following for a long time, and she has been very, very, very thorough she was basically live tweeting this, you know, just coming out with all of this information as it was being put up on their stream. And a little bit of a preamble as well, noting that Patrick Hunter, appointed to the board by DeSantis this summer, will be in attendance. He has an undisclosed conflict of interest. He is a member of the CMA, which already made an absolute faith-based commitment against our standards of care in 2021. Like, maybe my notes aren't as organized as they could be for this, because this is fucked up on so many levels. Like, the board members have multiple conflicts of interest in this sense here, that these people have like a religious belief or whatever. So the problem that we're dealing with here is that what the board wants to do is they want to instate limitations that say you can't do puberty blockers, you can't do you can't do hormones, you can't. I think that maybe even parts of this had to do with social transition, and that like we wouldn't even recommend that you cut the child's hair or let them change the way that they dress. I don't know if that's going to be officially in this particular thing. I don't know if it can be, because this is the medical board specifically addressing those things. But yeah, it's very motivated, and it's very clearly motivated. And the more we look into it, the more it's going to be obvious how it kind of seems like they only held public comment because they're sort of required to by the process, but that they very clearly stacked the deck and had no intention of even acknowledging the opposition's commentary as like worthy of consideration. We were talking about this earlier, like Bill Nye versus Ken Ham back in 2014. Bill Nye asked Ken Ham, like, what would it take to change your mind? And Ken Ham said nothing. And I kind of get the impression that that's what's happening with a lot of these transphobes, that they really just have no intention of even trying to listen to something that may change their mind. Like, they're only going to become further and further entrenched. So let's see. Starting in 5 minutes. Let's see. Hunter also did not disclose his involvement in signing an anti-trans proposal to the American Academy of Pediatrics. GenSpec blacked out his name, and then Hunter promoted the letter without saying that he was a signatory. Anti-trans activist Michael Biggs, a sociologist who is not a doctor, is reading off something and delivering a fairly poor quality live stream on, quote, juvenile transsexuals. Some of these experts were flown in. Some of these, like I say, experts and quote unquote experts. Some of these people were flown in, and some of these people were coming in over Zoom. I think that more of the people who were physically present were anti-trans. Well, maybe that's not the case. That's not what I'm trying to say. Like, of the people who were invited out, like, I think more of the experts against it were coming in over Zoom. And like, the reason why that stuck out to me and why I even considered it in the first place is that if you have doctors in the room, they're going to have like more credibility, seemingly. And so if you have an expert saying you should allow gender affirming care, but they're coming in over Zoom, like, it's going to knock down their credibility. You know, it's going to seem very casual. There might be like breaking up call connectivity happening, you know? So Biggs attempts to claim any apparent improvement seen from use of puberty blockers in trans youth is due to a change in measures in a study, quote, halfway through. He's leaning on that case report to say that puberty blockers have a death rate over 1%. Like, just making completely false claims. He demands that Florida only offer puberty blockers in a, quote, randomized controlled trial and research protocol as recently specified by the NHS England. David Diamond of the board asks him what the research protocol is, and Biggs says it's not available yet. Let's see. Dr. Kristen Dayton of UF Health, she's a pediatric endocrinologist, pro-trans expert, now video calling in. Patrick Hunter asking Dayton on data being kept on the patients. Dayton says they do not have an active registry of patients. Hunter asking her to estimate which percent of youth at their clinic proceed to puberty blockers. Dayton estimates 20 to 30%. Then asks which percentage of those go on to receive HRT. Dayton says it is the vast majority. So the vast majority of the ones who go on puberty blockers in the first place are also cleared to go on hormones, which is normal, and that makes perfect sense because in the first place, the puberty blockers are only given in cases that are clearly medically necessary, right? Hunter asking Chair David Diamond to bring Biggs back to present his claims on suicidality. He's denied, maybe later. Let's see. It kind of just goes back and forth where they bring up, let's see. There's also more than one thread here that I can pull up. See, this one from Aaron Reed. Okay, here, this kind of picks up in a different place. Florida pulling up fake experts to testify for medically detransitioning all trans youth. So it's becoming very clear, if you look into this very far, that these quote-unquote experts who are against the trans care are broadly like people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like people who don't actually treat trans kids. Like one of them is a dentist. We'll get into that later. So we're using like witnesses who are tied to the Alliance Defending Freedom, like a clear biased organization, the organization responsible for anti-abortion laws. Michael Laidlaw presented recently at a conference that promoted, quote, curing homosexuality through faith healing. Like, this is their expert fucking witness, is someone who believes in curing homosexuality through faith healing. It's a ram through. Yeah. Like, I want to show you the extent to which this is like a depraved failure of the democratic process, like, or the Republican process, I guess, is really what it is. Because these people, I mean, these people aren't even, it's not even a Republican process, because the point of a republic is that you have like appointees that you did vote for. Or I guess like that's the point of a democratic republic, is that you have a republic in the sense that you have representatives, but it's democratic in the sense that you voted for them. But this is a bunch of people who were appointed to this board, and we will get into that. Oh my God, we will get into that. If you want resources on the literature of low detransition rates, here it is. Laidlaw now saying that WPATH is an activist organization and saying that the Endocrine Society, the main professional organization for endocrinologists, cannot be trusted. He's an endocrinologist who is a conspiracy theorist also. Dr. Laidlaw, as expected, is now testifying in favor of barring social transition. He's advocating not only medically detransitioning trans youth, but also social detransition. Here's information showing that 98% do not desist. That is a false number. Here we have expert witness testifying against Florida's standards of care for trans people, seeking to ban all trans youth and even social transition. These are not experts. One of the researchers in Florida's review was a dentist. We are gonna, yeah, since we're here, we might as well watch some of these videos and like actually see as best we can what some of these people are actually saying here. Let me make sure, we'll make sure volume's all good. Down volume. Okay.
Neither of the authors of the state's review is a subject matter expert. One individual is a dentist. The other is a postdoctoral fellow in biostatistics. At a bare minimum, a systematic review should be conducted by those who are qualified to critically assess the literature. I wouldn't trust a dermatologist's review of the literature on a neurosurgical procedure, for instance.
That's so savage. Like, I would not trust a dermatologist about neurology. Like, that's awesome. Meredith McNamara is amazing. She's a stunningly good speaker and reacts to the questions of the anti-trans board of medicine member with deftness. She's leaving no question unanswered, and her answers will make it clear that Florida is opposing the medical literature. She has such a firm grasp on the science, knocking down every scientific falsehood that the Florida board is pushing. She's knocking down all the claims from the other fake experts. One Florida board member is getting mad at a pediatric gender therapist and researcher and trying to upset that she has never recommended... Oh, getting upset that she's never recommended surgery to pediatric patients. Hold on, here we go.
Because none of surgery, I haven't helped facilitate it because none of my patients have expressed a desire for it. That's my
right, but I'm an oncologist. Patients don't come to me requesting desire for chemotherapy. But I recommend chemotherapy because that's what's best for them. So as a physician, if you think that gender-affirming care is best for your patients, why have you not recommended surgery on any of your patients?
Gender-affirming care does not...
Someone in the crowd said they don't want it. They don't want it.
Not equal surgery.
I understand. There's a
gender-affirming care does not equal surgery.
Continuum.
We need to have some quorum here, so we'll appreciate if you do not do those actions at this point in time. Let's have an intelligent and cohesive conversation, please.
That guy's a fucking cunt. And you'll find out why later. I mean, you knew this already about all of them, but that one in particular, boy howdy, you're gonna fucking hate that guy before the end of this segment. It's clear in how the Board of Medicine treats those in favor of gender-affirming care versus those against. The fake, quote, experts against trans care get softballs and short question periods. The actual experts like McNamara get 40 minutes of questioning and grilling, and she's doing phenomenally. McNamara made it clear in her presentation and 40 minutes of grilling that gender-affirming care is individualized, that trans youth do not desist, that gender-affirming care for trans youth is not banned in, quote, Finland and other countries. Feel free to follow her at this account. In another thread, I wrote that McNamara didn't go into this fistfight with a knife. She brought a nuclear missile launcher. It won't make any difference. It's obvious that the board has already decided they'll endorse Latipo's insanity, but it does feel good. Board member Nicholas Romanello just officially proposed a rule to ban all gender-affirming care for trans youth. The motion to create a rule to ban trans youth from gender-affirming care and forcibly detransition them has been seconded. They are now making the carve-outs for intersex individuals so that intersex individuals can still be given non-consensual surgery as infants, non-consensual, often sterilizing surgery as infants. Upcoming vote on proposal to end gender-affirming care in Florida. They're currently discussing therapy for detrans youth who will be denied transition. They're discussing alternate therapies, quote-unquote. They're discussing non-consensual surgery on intersex infants and cisgender kids with precocious puberty, who I'm sure will continue to get the medicine that their doctors say that they need. Florida is about to vote on a rule to medically detransition trans youth, sending youth to alternate therapies. They had failed to do so in the legislature, so a DeSantis-picked board will make Florida the largest state to take this action. One board member is trying to propose that IRB-approved studies should be still allowed. They don't want more studies. They want a total ban. Now they're talking about a Florida registry of trans youth. That's genocidal. Like, if your vaguely fascist country where people get stopped and asked for their fucking paperwork for no reason and shit starts a registry of trans youth, like, just, I mean, that's a murder list. I'm sorry. If you think that sounds hyperbolic, open your fucking eyes. Let's see. A registry will help us monitor this ongoing situation. It sounds like they will not launch a registry, but I want it on record this was discussed.
Conclusions may not be as direct in a registry as one would conclude in a study with an IRB, but I still think it opens an opportunity to be able to monitor this ongoing situation.
For why? Why do you need to monitor the number of trans kids or like where they live and what their names are? Go fuck yourself, old lady. What is her name? Sandra? Schweim, I don't know what her name is. I can't read it behind the channel label. Florida is now taking comments from the public before voting on this rule. So the first section of the thingy of the meeting is expert testimony. And next we have comments from the public, the quote unquote public. Let's see who is against this in the quote unquote public, shall we? Oh, first we're hearing from detransitioner witnesses, place first for heaviest impact, possibly. Chloe Cole just spoke. The current speaker is advocating restrictions, quote, for adults as well. 6 speakers in a row, all detransitioners, very clearly placed first. Gotta love this sham of a hearing. Activists have had enough of this and are standing to confront this sham of a hearing and parade of anti-trans witnesses. It's absolutely clear that Florida has used sham experts and stacked the deck in order to vote to medically detransition all trans youth. To those at the meeting to testify and watch, it's clear that they have stacked the deck. They're not listening to you. Florida is not letting witnesses speak against their proposal. The crowd just said fuck it and started speaking themselves. A witness claims that transition care doesn't reduce suicide. The crowd says that they lie. Hold on.
For gender confusion includes there's no support for medical intervention for gender confused minors. Medical transition procedures do not reduce youth suicide. Childhood gender dysphoria usually dissipates by adulthood, and the dramatic increase in gender dysphoria in the recent past is likely driven by social factors. My recommendation to the Rules Committee is that cross-sex medical and surgical treatment should not be supported by organized medicine, the Board of Medicine, the legislature, or insurance companies. Thank you for what you're
Dr.
doing.
Grass, thank you so much.
Just people in the crowd just like, I don't know what the fuck I would do. Like, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think I could handle being in a situation like that. Like, I am such an angry person now, and I'm so tired of this shit that I genuinely don't know that I wouldn't, like, I feel like I would just become a wrestler and just take my folding chair and start fucking knocking people to the ground. Like, I don't know what I would do. Like, I think people might die. Like, I find this so violently upsetting. Yeah, like, I just don't think I could do it. This is why I'm leaving the country. No fucking shit. Yeah. No bitch getting my name on any papers. The last papers my ancestors were on led to star patches and one-way trains. Yeah, fuck this. Yeah. Oh my God. I'd be kicked out. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'd be hollering. Like, they waited until the end of his speech, basically, to start calling him a liar. I would have said lies after every single one of these lies. I would have been forcibly removed, I'm sure. Let's see. It's, this speaker stands and reads the names of those who took their lives. This speaker is talking about his trans daughter, misgendering her. She transitioned at age 22 at a hearing about trans youth.
When you graduated from medical school, you took an oath to do no harm. These decisions today will completely violate that oath. And I think upon that, your medical license should be reviewed and should be considered to be revoked if you pass this legislation. Thank you.
Well, next is...
That was pretty baller. I appreciated that. They're cutting off comment early.
I want before you can come to the podium. You'll be the last speaker for the day, and let me finish. Let me finish. Don't shout. You're not going to win.
Did you hear that? I'm sorry, but did you hear that? Did you hear that? Let's go it over again.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Don't shout. You're not going to win.
It's a damn thing. It's like a damn good thing I don't live in Florida. I need to get out of this country. We all need to get out of this country. We just need to go. Like, cause it was already apparent to everybody, like in front of God and everybody, it was already very fucking apparent that this was just a farce. That at no point did these people have any intention of actually like listening to any of the opposition. He straight up just said, "You're not going to win." Like, I don't like it's it's like hard to hear him. I apologize. I'll play it again one last time.
Let me finish. Don't shout. You're not going to win.
You're not going to win. Let's make it one more time. I'm turning up his volume. I'm turning up the volumes as much as I humanly can on my end. All right?
Let me finish. Don't shout. You're not going to win.
That's as loud as I can make him. So that's fucked up. It's very upsetting. I assume he meant that you wouldn't win in a shouting match over him. Nah, that's way too charitable. That's far too charitable. I guess I'll like let that, hold on, that's not the right video. I'll let that finish out and see what else he has to say.
Let me finish. What we're going to do, we'll give you an email for the state of Florida. You send your information, and whatever information what information you send will be a part of the record. You know what? Okay.
I couldn't hear all of what she said. Something about like, what about all these people who are standing here waiting to speak to you and like vote like for you or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what she said.
You know what? Okay, that's fine. Okay, Miss Patty Sullivan, you may proceed. That's okay.
I don't know that he meant for that's okay to come across the way that it did. But we all know what this, like, this man is on a board of medicine who have already decided that they're going to push this through. And yeah, he's got no bedside manner. Yeah, this, I mean, like, how else do you respond when people are like, do people genuinely think that we're like making shit up when we're like, you are going to be directly responsible for the deaths of children? Like, like when we say shit like that, like it has a lot of gravity to it. And I wonder sometimes if these people just think that we're making shit up. Yeah, or is it that they just want to kill children? Like, is it really that, is it truly that they don't want any more trans people and so they'll accept the casualties of children in order for there to not be as many trans people overall? Like, simultaneously they think we're deluded and they have no empathy for actual humans. That, yeah, like I saw a comic or something about that one time that was like, or like someone was speaking about a conversation they had in line at Chipotle or whatever, where like the people in front of them were saying like something about how homosexuals were mentally ill and like they were going to go to hell. And it's like, do you like serve a God who condemns mentally ill people to hell? Like, is that the perspective that you're going to have on this, you know? Better to have a dead kid than a trans kid, they think. Well, yeah, I mean, if they have a dead kid, then they can bury them in whatever they want and never have to. I mean, look, this is the thing. A lot of these people consider their kid to be dead anyway after they transition. They're like, you killed my son, is the kind of shit that they say to people. So to a lot of these folks, it's like, yeah, if you're dead, it's the same to them as if you had transitioned and been happy. If you're queer, you're not human, just a demon trying to tempt people in disguise. Yeah. Anyway, the crowd is now chanting, "Let them speak." The Florida channel cut the hearing, so I can no longer record the crowd. They're approaching the front and shouting, "Let them speak." They're about to vote to detransition all trans teens. The moment Florida cut comment early as people approached stare. Let's see.
Just get up. Let's take a 5-minute recess.
People are really pissed. I'm having a hard time discerning voices here. I mean, there's not much going on in the video. It's all just milling. We are now back as they are about to vote. All right, let me go back to my notes, actually, and let's see. Because I have, like, a lot of links about this. Let me see what else I have prepared. Double check this. Kat Kattinson calls for no medical transition to be available to anyone under age 25. Yeah, so here's all the detransitioners. Next is detransitioner Helena Kirshner. She blamed Tumblr for her decision to transition. She was cited by Gospel Coalition, renounced gay sex, and said that she was, quote, under the influence of gender ideology when she had gay sex. Someone is talking about how electrolysis, how painful it is. If you've never done that, it's painful. I have. Stop being a drama queen. I have 2 friends who've died in these procedures, he says. Next is Jakob Scheinfeld, father of a trans child who committed suicide at 28. Scheinfeld's child was diagnosed and treated for depression before transitioning, but Scheinfeld attributes their suicide to testosterone without substantiating this as a cause. Let's see. Dr. Mary Flynn, consulting psychologist, mother of trans child. Everything we've heard before is nothing that I've heard in any support group from any physician. I don't know what that means. Someone is calling trans women patriarchal men dominating women. Talking about swimming and athletics. Womanhood is not a mental disorder suffered by men. Wow, just gathering so much evidence today. We have some people being able to speak positively. It would be psychologically damaging to her siblings and for our family for the daughter to have to go through male puberty, for their trans daughter to go through male puberty. All right, hold up. What is this one? So they held this meeting at an airport. Yeah, can you get a DUI for being under the influence of genderology? I fucking wish. So they fly in all these anti-trans people. They then leave for their flights to go terrorize trans people in other states. Like they have to have they have to host it on a place with shitty internet so that people can't watch it and so that people can be flown in and out easily. All right, hold on. What's my next piece of notes here? Oh yeah, I decided I was going to cite Gayfesh real quick. So according to Gayfesh's quick math, about 218,000 Floridian children were just denied essential health care. There's an estimation from the 2021 population of Florida being about 21 million, and 19.7% of those people are under the age of 18, roughly 4.2 million. 5.1% of adults under 30 are trans or non-binary. We don't have data for specifically under 18s, but the percentage increases the younger you go. So if you just use the 5.1% that is applicable to adults under 30, there are 218,000 trans kids in Florida, potentially, which is a lot. And it's a lot of people to just suddenly not have rights in healthcare anymore. Like, people are making exoduses from Florida because of this. Like, people are leaving. All right, here we go. We're going to do a little bit more breakdown with Zinnia. I'm going to highlight this again after what happened yesterday. The Florida Board of Medicine had 9 detransitioners speak first, all in a row, and then only let 6 pro-trans speakers in total provide public comment before they ended early. They ended early. There were a bunch of people who showed up to speak in opposition to this proposal, and they only let 6 of them go and quit them early. Like, It's giving the public and policymakers the impression that detransition is that common when it isn't. That is generously 1% of people who detransition overall. We had to identify several of these detransitioners as currently working with Florida to defend the Medicaid exclusion. This group is not so much detransitioners as they are radical, like religious radicals, and crucially, undisclosed political agents. If you go to the video archive and listen to what they pass off as testimony, you can see that for every one of them, their presence is basically a display of total bias powered by egregiously uncontrolled mental illness, poorly shepherded into the shape of an argument. Zinnia goes hard sometimes. You're using them to make an argument that actually boils down to these individuals were allegedly not competent to agree to or even understand transitioning in the first place and are not capable of making a rational, informed decision in their own interest. So in light of that, why are any of us supposed to believe that a single one of these people even know what they're talking about right now? Why are we as the public having to believe that they even knew what they were doing when they decided to detransition and show up here? There's a specific argument for the role of these detransitioners' testimonies to either be considered discredited entirely or subject to several guardrails of scope, with the understanding that this behavior and its relevance to policy or to the real world is very limited. Let's see. Not only are detransitioners extremely uncommon, they appear to largely constitute a small extremist movement that is being sought out by far-right state governments for their cooperation in advancing overwhelming restrictions against the bodies of millions of trans Americans. Like, Zenny has been pointing this out in the aftermath of this. Like, why do they have to bring in the same, like, 9 detransitioners to every single one of these meetings? Like, how crazy amazing would it be to be Helena Kirshner and getting, like, flown around the country and, like, oh, I got to visit Florida, and then next week I get to visit Ohio, and then the week after that I'm gonna go to Utah and, like, just being like ferried across the country at no personal cost and probably having all of your meals paid for. Because you're a useful political pawn. But, like, yeah, if supposedly there's a huge number of detransitioners, like, well, let's just go off of let's just assume that there are 200,000 trans people total in Florida. And let's say detransition is actually happening at the 80% rate that they like to claim. Like, that means that you should have, like, what, like 160,000 detransitioners to choose from, and yet you use the same dozen and you have them all read kind of similar sounding scripts. Like, you know, it's very, I bet those detrans people aren't even getting paid to be shitty. I fucking hope that they are getting paid, because why else would you be doing this? The generous explanation is that an aspiring Gilead is exploiting very unwell people. The less generous explanation is me pointing you to massive tranches of evidence showing detransitioners' deliberate complicity and enthusiastic participation. The Florida Board of Medicine refused to let a state representative from Orlando speak. They refused to let a representative-elect speak. Those are elected officials representing Floridians, trying to bring the concerns of constituents to their attention. Instead, this politicized, captured Florida Board of Medicine let a series of Twitter trolls wax poetic about Jesus and mutilation, as though the state had requested a Hellraiser sequel rather than evidence. Do you think it's in the public interest that 3 of the 5, quote, experts picked by Florida to write reports had already committed in 2021 that their religious beliefs would never allow them to support any gender-affirming standards of care? I found that evidence. Instead, the Florida Board of Medicine chooses to hear from individuals claiming dead religious figures and spirits released them from the curse of being trans. That's not medicine, nor is it evidence, nor is the commitment that regardless of what evidence you encounter in the process of a review, you will always decide against transition care because your personal religious belief compels you as an individual to do so. Oh my God. I don't know whether to call the Department of Justice or the fucking UN. I have no respect whatsoever for the radical religious beliefs that the Board of Quote Medicine chose to platform for an hour yesterday. Yeah, she kind of goes off about the religious aspect of it for a minute here. This is like a particularly rough episode of Star Trek TNG. All right, so now I do want to look further into, like, okay, to what extent does this go wrongly? Let's see, actually, hold on. Where is there's one of these that really kind of goes into detail about all of the one of these goes into a lot of detail about the doctors. Where is that? Where is my notes on that? Oh, well, that's not great. Sorry. Trying to find this thing. There's so many, like, long threads, it's hard to keep track of where shit is sometimes. Because somewhere in here, I have notes about the... Like, are these doctors actually experts? Like, who are these people? And, like, what is their expertise? Because, yeah, one of these people who is signing on for the research of, like, oh, this isn't good enough, you can't let trans kids go, is a dentist. You know, like, we discussed that earlier. A lot of these supposed experts aren't currently treating patients anymore. Like, they're too old and stuff like that. I don't need this one anymore. I guess I'll just add in here because this is still in this is part of my notes as well. The Board of Medicine ended the meeting early, and attendees in the room, nearly all of whom opposed the rule, broke out into chants of "We will not be silenced. Stonewall was a riot." Despite the opposition being the majority, the board required equal representation of both sides by alternating those giving comment. Once they ran out of those in support, they ended the meeting despite dozens of people not given the chance to speak. I think this is the follow-up meeting where they voted. They actually voted on it this time. I'm not sure. Because I think that they've actually approved this now. This meeting was a shit show. The board members have no understanding of the bylaws or regulatory rulemaking requirements. They approved 2 different standards of care, one which prohibits medical doctors from conducting research on gender dysphoria, and the other allows DOs to conduct research. I don't know what DOs are. This opens up the public comment period for the next few weeks, as is required by Florida administrative rulemaking requirements, and I will follow up with info on that as soon as it's available. So this is not going into the experts, but this is going to indicate to us the extent to which there is a conflict of interest on the boards, on the board itself. Because, like, it's already, like, we already can tell, like, the endocrinologist that they had was a conspiracy theorist, and one of the people that spoke in support in support of the rule was a dentist. Like, I don't know where that aspect of my notes went, but at least one of the doctors was, like, old enough that they were no longer treating patients at all. So, like, and also had never treated any patients with gender dysphoria. So anyway, Sarah Parker, speaking and reading all of the political donations to DeSantis that was made by each of the Board of Medicine members. The board members have donated over a combined $80,000 to DeSantis. So check this out. David Diamond, who I believe is a chairperson and a radiation oncologist at Winter Park, contributed $2,000 to DeSantis' first campaign for governor in 2018, over a year before Diamond was appointed to the medical board. Hector Villa Jr., a Tampa anesthesiologist, contributed $20,000 to Friends of Ron DeSantis in April. The governor appointed Villa to the board subsequently had previously appointed him to the board in 2019. Ravi Chandra, a vascular surgeon in Ocala, donated $25,000 to Friends of Ron DeSantis in 2018. He also gave $3,000 to the governor's re-election campaign in October. DeSantis appointed him to the board last year. Zachariah P. Zachariah, a Fort Lauderdale cardiologist and well-known Republican fundraiser, wrote a $25,000 check to Friends of Ron DeSantis in May. Scott Ackerman, a Jacksonville radiation oncologist, wrote a $3,000 check to DeSantis' campaign in 2018, roughly a year before his appointment to the board. Michael Waislick, a orthopedic surgeon in Tampa, donated $3,000 to DeSantis' reelection campaign in April, about a year after the governor appointed him to the board. Maria D. Garcia, a Coral Gables healthcare attorney, contributed $250 to DeSantis' reelection campaign in April, about 3 months after the governor reappointed her to the board. Eleanor Pimentel, a internal medicine specialist, contributed $50 to DeSantis' campaign in 2018. She donated the same amount to his political committee last year. In October, she wrote a $100 check to Friends of Ron DeSantis. The governor named her to the board in early 2020. So it's pretty clear that I think that might have been every single member of the board. Like, it kind of seems like maybe every single member of the board has a conflict of interest where they are in Ron DeSantis' pocket. Like, because clearly Ron has been, like, driving a lot of this bullshit forward. And, oh my God. Yeah, can we cut Florida off like the gangrenous appendage it is? I wish, like, I say that, and we make jokes about, like, yeah, let the next, like, tsunami come and take Florida off the map. But, like, need I remind you about the 200,000 trans kids who live there and need help? We can't just be like, yeah, wash it off the map, because, like, there's people who need help there. Oh gosh, I really wish I could find the bit about the oh my God, excuse me, the experts not really being experts. I'm trying to find it. Obviously, all of this creates an imminent situation that is unspeakably dangerous to trans people, particularly given that a board member repeatedly proposed a state registry of trans people receiving medical care yesterday. Yeah, I don't know if I still have this open. Like, I had an additional link that is dead now, and I think that might have been my link to the information about how the information about all the quote-unquote expert witnesses on their side. Well, maybe I won't be able to find it. That's okay, though. So I wanted to kind of go as far in depth on that as I could. I think there may even be more recent. Wait, what day was that? Come on, that was Friday the 4th is when this meeting was. The meeting that they had on Friday was a more recent one, and it was cutting out like a lot. Like, it was just not a very high quality stream. And I think it's partially because of where they were hosting the meeting, but also partially because of because a lot of people were tuning in. Actually, let me go. Zinnia, God bless you. You post too much, but I gotta try to find this. I feel like it's really integral to the segment. Yeah. If you have notes, it would be awesome to cite some of the research you talk about, because it's hard to find facts if you aren't an expert or someone who has tons of time to look everything up. I mean, the difficult thing about providing access to research also is that a lot of it is paywalled, or like not necessarily paywalled, but like you have to have university credentials in order to get into the website in the first place or whatever, Here, let me do it this way. I'm just reading. Sorry. Well, god damn it. Oh well. Too fucking bad, I guess. I just wish I could remember where the fuck that thread went. That's bothering me a lot. It's probably not going to stop bothering me. So I just have to officially give up on finding that information. It's pretty clear that this country is hostile to our existence. Like, at least certain states are, you know? And it's my personal belief that if your rights depend on your zip code, then you don't really have them. You know, it's not like we can just, like, not everybody has the ability to just up and fucking leave. Like, I'm about to move, like, within the same state. Like, I'm about to move my belongings from one place to another within the same state, and that shit's expensive. And there's a lot of fucking logistics that go into it, like setting up your you know, you got to get your utilities and stuff together. You got to get the renter's insurance before your move-in is figured out. You know, like, it's so much work and it's so much money. And you're expecting people to pack up their entire lives or leave their entire lives behind and go somewhere safer. And, like, yeah, probably a lot of us are going to have to do that. That certainly doesn't make it okay. It's actually really fucked up and super not cool that so many transgender Americans and so many families and loved ones of transgender Americans are having to make the decision to take their children out of school, like, move across the country. People are, like, quitting their jobs and leaving their families behind to move across the country to a safe, like a sanctuary state, because there are sanctuary states getting set up now. Like, I believe California is one of them. Massachusetts might be another one, where people have been, like, the legislatures there have specifically put in laws that say, if you flee another state from persecution about your gender stuff, like, they can't subpoena you. Like, we will not recognize their attempts to take you back into their jurisdiction in order to process your crime, whatever. Like, basically it's like California's way of saying, like, we don't acknowledge that they've committed a crime. In fact, you criminalizing this means that this person is a refugee now. Like, within the United States of America, there are currently refugees from here. Like, there are currently refugees from, like, fucking, like, Utah or whatever, who have, like, fled their state because they need access to medical care, you know? And I'm like, I think about, like, I know a family with some trans kids in Texas, and I'm like, what are they gonna do? Like, they live in, like a house that's perfectly, it's like they own the house, and it's in a multi-generational heirloom, this house. You're, like, asking people to give up a lot, and you're asking people to give up their culture too. Like, oh, like, maybe trans kids in Texas like being Southern. Like, maybe people from Texas like being from Texas because there are other things besides bigotry that being from Texas is about, right? Like, it's just impossible. It's an impossible situation, and no children should ever have to deal with that. We've seen on this stream before, we've read the words of children talking about the way that this makes them feel because they are aware of all of these pressures. They're aware that people that other parents of students at their school don't want them to be able to use the bathroom that they want to be able to use. They're, especially kids who are currently on hormones and puberty blockers, they're going to be very aware when you take them off of their medication forcibly. And, like, and there are questions of criminalization. Oh my God, I'm so fucking glad I thought of this just now, because I'm going to have a conversation with someone on stream this week about the genocide thing. Like, what happens to parents who try to access medical care for their kids anyway? Like, what if they're like, well, we still have this entire bottle of testosterone, so we're not going to waste it by just throwing it away. We're going to keep giving it to the kid until it's out. Let's say, for example, what happens when that is a crime now? Like, when children, the parents giving their kid the medicine is considered a crime. Well, the parents are going to get arrested. Well, what happens to the kid when the parents get arrested? Well, they go into state foster care. Like, they're removed from the environment, and because transition-related care is illegal, then of course foster parents aren't going to allow it. And if they make it to where social transition is illegal, then basically you're taking a kid out of an affirming environment and putting them into an environment where the state requires that their foster parents abuse them in order to maintain funding. And like, ultimately that's what a lot of these laws do, are saying like, you have to be complicit in the abuse of children or you're going to lose funding. That's the power that the state has. They can't necessarily make it illegal to be trans, but they can make it so that any public service that supports transness is going to be functionally made, like, they're basically going to shut them down. Like, if a hospital receives public money and the hospital is providing gender affirming care, then they will just stop sending money to the hospital, and then the hospital will have to shut down and won't be able to help anybody. They would rather hurt their entire community than allow trans kids to grow into adults and thrive. And, you know, the whole genocide thing comes up, and, like, to be totally clear, genocides are attempts to reduce numbers in a group. And if you're saying, oh, we should do watch and wait therapy because most kids will just grow out of it, you are doing something with the intent of there being fewer trans people. You're like trying to like force people to not be trans, essentially. Like, oh, surely you'll just be cis if we don't indulge this fantasy of yours, which is the hope that there will be fewer trans people. Restricting access to medical care is like, well, whatever, we can't prevent you from making this decision until you're after you're 18, except that some places are trying to propose rules that make it illegal up to age 25. There's just so much. It's just like, it's overwhelming, and it's hard to keep all in your head all at the same time, and it's fucked up, and I don't think it's going to get better. And there are just numerous ways in which they're trying to reduce numbers of the group. And also, like, to be clear, when I mentioned the foster care thing with reference to genocide, it's also considered a cultural genocide, if you want to use that term, when you remove children from their homes and make them grow up in an environment where they're disconnected from their cultures. Like, even just pretending that all the murder and rape and beatings didn't happen at the Native American residential schools, the simple act of taking the children away to teach them English and to force them to cut their hair, which was a religious practice for Native Americans, like a spiritual practice to have long hair, to force them to learn a different religion, and sending them back as like older teenagers to their families where they can no longer speak with their grandparents at all because they don't know the language. Like, they are, you know, like completely disconnected from their ancestry and where they came from. Like, that is also genocide. Removing children from those environments in order to force them to be something else is also a type of genocide. And like, even more so for people who happen to be trans parents who also have trans kids. Like, it's a really fucking insidious, multifaceted attempt to prevent there from being more trans people. Truly, they would rather have dead kids than trans kids. And that is that on Florida for today. Dave says, my cousin fostered 2 Muslim kids and was required to take them to the mosque because disconnecting kids from their culture is not allowed. I mean, I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. This is also sad. I lost the last of my teen years because of Alabama passing a bill. And even before, my doctors were scared to put me on T in case I had to be taken off. This shit ruins kids' lives. Yeah. It's so harmful and destructive. State-sanctioned child trafficking and abuse. True. Hey, Peapot Fairy, welcome to the website. Or maybe you're not new to the website, I'm not sure. I hate it and the casualness with which cis people who mean well talk about these laws. Like, no, I will not calm down about the state trying to genocide trans people, me included. Oh, people who say they mean well. Yeah. I think it's a genocide, but I think what trips people up is the genocide in their minds is the killing of, quote, a people with a shared culture and history and often shared geographical location. And a lot of that gets fuzzier when you're talking about a group like trans people. Yeah. It's just membership to any group. Like, because you can have like a religious genocide. I know that you're not, like, obviously you're not saying this is what you believe, Max. Like, you can have religious genocides where it's like, we're going to kill all of the... Isn't that the main thing about the Uyghur people in fucking... Is that China where that's happening? It's like a religious minority, right? It also sucks that the doctors who want to help are getting their hands tied with the threat of jail time. Yeah, it's the question is it excuse me, when it comes to the doctors, is it a threat of jail time or is it a threat of being sued? Because either way, it's a dissuading factor, but one of them is definitely more fascist than the other one. And I have yet to see, because a law hasn't really passed. This is just like guidance for hospitals. So I guess it would depend on what the currently existing structure is. Like, if a doctor does something against medical advisement according to the Board of Medicine in the state, I think they probably just have a fine and lose their medical license. Like, that would be my guess. Some kind of restriction on their medical license. People have really fucked up ideas about genocide. Like, they literally think it has to be exactly 10 million or 6 million dead or else it's not happening. This is why I really push it's a process. Yeah, the Uyghur in China. Yeah, and they're Muslims. Okay. Yeah, I think that people have it in their heads. Really, truly, I think that what people have it in their heads is that a genocide is like you kill all or most of the people directly. And I kind of like want to have this conversation with someone, and I'm going to be having that conversation tomorrow, actually. If you're interested, obviously it's going to be during the day, during a work day, but at about like 10:30 a.m. Central Time, I'm going to hop on a stream with a streamer called Will, who is going to basically talk to me about whether this is actually something you could qualify as a genocide. And what I always push is that it is attempts made to reduce membership of a group. Like that's it. Like, from the moment that, do y'all remember the letters? Gosh, will I be able to find one of them? I'm pretty sure that there were actual like letters that I've seen photos of that were, okay, this is like got quotes. Whoa, get the fuck out of my face. Okay. They, when people used to communicate in pre-America, they would send letters to each other because that was the like only way to communicate. And we had someone writing in their diary that 2 Delaware emissaries had visited the fort and asked to hold talks the next day. At that meeting, after the Native American diplomats had tried to unsuccessfully persuade the British to abandon Fort Pitt, they asked for provisions and liquor for their return. The British complied and also gave them gifts, 2 blankets and a handkerchief, which had come from the smallpox ward. I hope it will have the desired effect, Trent wrote. So, like, while they were speaking about these things and writing letters back and forth about, like, deliberately infecting Native Americans with smallpox, like, that was already genocidal intent. Like, that's already, you've began a genocide. A genocide has been initiated. Like, that's, I think the main problem is that they only consider the active killing part to be part of the genocide instead of including all of the incremental steps. which all of the incremental steps that lead up to the killing of people are also considered part of the genocide, because they're all fundamentally, at the end of the day, that is all attempts to reduce membership in the group. They don't have to be succeeding at it. Well, thank you, Peapot Fairy. I appreciate that. Good to have people who've been around for a while. Christian nationalists want a country under their idea of Christianity with no separation of church and state. Anti-trans and general homophobia and persecution of those who don't fit their ideal is part of their plan. Pretty much. Also, the official definition doesn't include LGBT. Yeah, but like, I mean, like, yeah, the official definition of genocide according to the UN, which, like, the UN doesn't have any fucking power for anything. Yeah, because right now it basically says, in the present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. Yeah, so like, we aren't a national group. I guess you could consider us an ethnic group in some ways. Obviously not a racial group. You could consider us like a sort of religious ideology, I guess, if you were being really fucked up about it. But it's like, with intent to destroy in whole or in part a group. A group with some thing in common. The main reason why this definition matters is because it's not a genocide if you kill your political opponents. Like, if you kill every person who identifies as a communist, because that's not considered an intrinsic trait. Like that's kind of the distinction that's being made. Is like, you don't have any control over your national, ethnical, religious, or racial group. I feel like it's weird that a religious group is considered an intrinsic trait, but I guess to some extent, like, you cannot control what you believe in terms of like what you're convinced is true in the world. Do you know what I mean? So there is that. Wow, I need water. Oh my God, long segment. Kara says, I'm in District of Columbia and vacationers here wonder why we get so mad that there's no legislators here. But I'm guessing they would be mad if their state did not have any legislators. Yeah, like, aren't you like, shit, my brain is really not working well today. I gotta eat after stream. Yeah, like, if you just didn't have any representatives, basically, if you just straight up didn't have representative government where you lived, I bet that you would be pretty pissed off too as an American citizen. Jeez Louise. Hey, if you're here and you're hanging out and you're enjoying this conversation and you've not yet hit the like button, I'm shaming you into hitting the like button now. How dare you come to my stream, my free stream, and not even drop a like, you piece of shit. Anyway, I'm joking. I appreciate it, every single one of you. District of Columbia. Indeed. Yes, hit like on the stream, for sure. So, that's kind of my main segment for today. Talking about genocide against trans people. So, like, that's going to be the conversation that I have tomorrow. I'm not going to, if you all tune into the conversation that I'm going to have with Will tomorrow, I'm not going to go hard on, like, here's what Florida's doing, and here's what Oklahoma's doing, and here's what Texas is doing, or whatever. Like, I'm gonna just focus on this, like, intent to reduce numbers in the group, right? Because if we ignore the fact that LGBT people are not technically a part of most of these subcategories, like, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, like, well, we've already thoroughly demonstrated that lacking access to medical care severely harms mental health of trans people. deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Well, if you know that lack of access to medical care increases the risk of suicide, and you lie and you say that it's the opposite way around, and you restrict access to medical care even though you know that that is going to bring about conditions of physical destruction of life, then that's a deliberately genocidal behavior. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. Not really. This one doesn't really apply to us, I guess. But it does apply to intersex people, since they don't worry about forcibly sterilizing them. Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. We did discuss this earlier in stream, how taking children from the environment that's allowing them to be trans and putting them in an environment that's explicitly not allowing them to be trans, and like may even be religiously indoctrinating them and stuff, like that's, yeah, forcible transition, like forcible transfer of the child out of the group. Actually, Congress can override DC laws. Oh my God, that's so fucked up. Ask if it would be possible to have a genocide of blue-eyed people, because that's not a national or ethnic or racial or religious group. Or a genocide of disabled people, because I think people will accept those before trans people. Yeah, if that, I really am hoping that the conversation that I'm having tomorrow is not going to be so myopic as to categorically say, like, basically, like, you know, I really will not stay in a conversation very long with someone who says, like, LGBT people or trans people are not homogenous enough of a group to warrant consideration in terms of like genocidal attempts against them as a group, right? Like I'm hoping, based on the tweets that I saw from this person, that that's not the kind of conversation that we're going to have. Yeah, I would argue that none of the country's representatives actually represent the people. Their actual constituents are corporations and rich people. That's absolutely true. True. That's almost like that's the very definition of medicine, and denying it is one-to-one anti-life. Yeah. Forcing pregnancies to come to term ensures that first pregnancies, the ones most likely to be heterosexual. Is that true? I'm a first pregnancy. Bear more children than those that would have come through subsequent pregnancies. Yeah, Mickey, is that actually true? Because I feel like I've heard that. Like, people are like, actually, I've heard the opposite, I think. That, like, if a woman has a boy, what I've heard is that if a woman has a boy, her first child is going to be the most affected by her estrogen, because whenever you have a okay, yeah, Max is on the same wavelength as me. What I've heard is that like some amount of like testosterone and male cells remain present in the uterus after, because she builds up anti-androgens. So you're saying the more older brothers a man has, the more likely he's gay, because women build up anti-androgens in their bodies while they're pregnant with boys? That seems crazy. I'm not saying you're wrong, but it sounds fucking crazy. Human bodies are weird. Yeah, that's an interesting concept, though. Forcing pregnancies to come to term, ensuring that first pregnancies bear more children than those that would have come through subsequent pregnancies. It is an argument for attempting to prevent queer births. I almost feel like people are like, yeah, you should have as many babies as possible. Like, the Christo-fascist ideal is that women are popping out a baby a year, until, like, one baby per year until they die in childbirth, basically, you know? At least that's the impression that I get off of all of these fucking weird psycho neocons. Oh my God, excuse me. I'm so burpy. I read that study and it makes sense because my brother is very straight and I'm bi as fuck. Presumably, if she'd had a third boy, he would be the most gay. That's curious. I'm interested in that now. And it's like a lifetime androgen, like a lifetime anti-androgen buildup system. Like if you were, like my grandmother had one boy and then two girls and then a boy. Like if you had the two female pregnancies in the in-between, would the last boy be less likely to have been saturated in anti-androgens through the pregnancy? I don't know. That's fascinating. Human bodies are horrifying and very complex in the stupidest way, for sure. Oh yeah, that's a good point, August. Speaking of the definition of genocide and like the word genocide, they will say that using it carelessly takes the meaning out of the word, but however, not using it when it does apply also does the same of taking the meaning out of the word. Yeah, like if these are the conditions that are occurring, like if that's basically like, I'm gonna have to lay out this case and be like, here's the different things that are considered genocidal actions, and like here's the way in which America is doing all of these things, and I'll have to conclude like, if that's not a genocide, then I don't know what genocide means. You know, like I don't know what that word is supposed to mean to you. But yeah, we the only thing that affects the statistics is number of older brothers. I'm not asking whether... I feel like my speculation didn't come across the way I meant it to. Like, I'm wondering if, if having several female pregnancies in between, like, so it's just your total lifetime anti-androgen account is higher, even if you have, like, several pregnancies that have nothing to do with that in the meantime. I guess we don't actually know what mechanisms change it, and we also don't know, like, all of the details of each and every one of those families. We're kind of just looking at statistical aggregates. That's something that someone was one of my friends was concerned when they were filling out the U.S. Trans Survey, which you should do if you have the time today. 30 to 90 minutes, y'all. Make yourself some hot cocoa, fill out the U.S. Trans Survey if you're trans and live in the United States. Wow, I forgot what I was about to say. I am having a really difficult day today with my brain. Filling it out. Good. Yeah, sorry, the statistics. My friend was like, I'm concerned that my experiences, like that the way I'm answering these questions is kind of erratic and it might be kind of hard to narrativize. And I was like, it doesn't make any difference though. Like, we're not looking at... Like, with the U.S. Trans Survey, we're not really going to be saying, like, and this one applicant is a non-binary trans man who went to school up to college level and whose family rejected them when they came out as trans. Like, we're going to only really be looking at, like, of all of the black correspondents who got back to us, 80% of them experienced this form of discrimination, whereas compared to the overall numbers of the group, which only had 60% of this thing happening to them. Like, we're going to be looking at broad data like that. So don't be concerned about, you know, seeming inconsistent from one answer to another, or like giving answers that you feel may be contradictory if you were looking at your, you know, like being transmasculine and also like, you know, on I don't know, like on estrogen or something, like if someone goes on estrogen therapy for birth control, but they're also still transmasc or something, I don't know. Like things that feel contradictory in your answers, don't worry about that. Not gonna be a big deal. Brains are electrified jellyfish piloting a meat mecha. It's true. Very difficult to keep them working properly. Okay, I need to get some water real quick, y'all. Here we go. Don't forget to drink water, y'all. Hail hydrate. Ooh, it's the beginning of the month, and I know everybody just paid rent, but if you've got $5 to spare, consider it, all right? Consider it. Buy me a housewarming gift on my Amazon wish list if you want. The way I saw it phrased was like the mother's body treated the male fetus like a disease and attacked it like an immune response. Okay, that kind of makes sense. So the female fetuses wouldn't reset that reaction. Okay, so it's an immune response. That kind of makes more sense to me. Secret knowledge on how to maximize the gayness of the children. True. Find yourself a partner who's only ever squirted out male children, and then have like 3 kids with that person, and then that's how you produce more fags in the world. Yummy. Okay. So you know what is really maybe quite surprising to you? After we did like a monstrous hour-long segment, maybe we went more than an hour. I don't know. I'm gonna have to edit that one. I did actually have other things on the list today. We talked about Ron DeSantis. We talked about... Did I talk about any of this other stuff on my notes? No, I don't think so. Not yet, at least. All right, well. Okay, we're just going to have a moment. We're just going to have fun for a second here. We're just going to have a quick moment of fun. Because do y'all remember Keira Bell? Do y'all remember Keira Bell and how she was the one who basically got them to close the Tavistock in the UK, you know? Do I just keep fucking forgetting to put it back on my face when I'm talking about stuff? This is what's going on with her lately. Like, first of all, oh, thank you, Peapot Fairy. Thank you for the $5 dono. I really appreciate that. So currently, this is what Keira Bell is on. She deleted the tweet, but there's an archive. The real Uncle Toms are the ones scared to step out of line with the radical liberals. Cowardice is ugly. Quote tweeting Kanye West's quote saying, "I'm not out of control. I'm just not in their control." Like, using racial term Uncle Tom and then engaging in the same kind of like anti-Semitism that Kanye West is currently in the middle of dealing with. And also, peep the profile picture. Famous detransitioner Keira Bell smiling in her profile picture, wearing a full beard. Isn't that strange? Isn't that so weird? You would think that with her being a detransitioner and all that, like, you would think that someone would have paid her to get some laser hair removal on her face. Do you think? Maybe? Yeah, based white name maintenance. Yeah. I think Peapot Fairy is new enough to the website that maybe they didn't know that a sub could give them access to the dicks. Can we get some dicks in chat, please? It's been like a whole 2.5 hours and we haven't brought up dicks once until now. Dicks, except I'm poor. Staring in my notoriously straight 3 brothers and my dad and uncles. That's really funny. If somebody types dicks who's a white name and someone else follows it up who is a sub, like it actually does do the 2 times combo. That's so funny. I think she's insincere. I suspect she may have been paid to detransition. Yeah, like I hope that she was paid to detransition. Like, she looks like a happy man here. Like, I don't want to be like mean. Like, I'm respecting her pronouns and everything, but I'm like she just looks like a happy man, and it's so fucked up that she's so against transness now, right? Dick's mutual aid. True. What's up, Baphomet? You are about 2.5 hours late to the stream today. White names combo either direction. That's cool. I didn't know that. IDK, I'm trans and gay, and my sister is bi. I'm the oldest. IDK about my 2 younger brothers. I'm not mad at you. You can be sleeping. You missed like a chunky segment. I don't normally do a whole chunky segment. Like, I really fucking whipped out the demon mama today and went for like, we're just gonna just talk about this one issue for over an hour. I don't normally do those kind of deep dives, so I hope that you all liked it. We are going to, yeah, I didn't really have a lot to add to this. Like, obviously, like, as Mallory adds, like, don't harass Kira Bell. She's been going increasingly conspiratorial throughout the pandemic and saying some very incoherent things. None of us have insights into her inner life. Be kind. But also, sus. It's very sus. Also, please don't do grim shit calling her by non-female pronouns when she's famously using female pronouns. I think that's fair. You know, don't, like, yes, I'm making fun of her. I think it's funny. But I'm not gonna, like, misgender her, okay? We don't do that to people we don't like. Unless they're actively, like, unless it's a cis person or, like, a binary trans person who is maliciously misgendering you and you do it back, I think that's an acceptable time to misgender people, my personal opinion. Is that, do you want to cancel me, chat? Is that bad? Is that harmful? Because I don't believe that misgendering is always 100% a bad thing. Like, I think, like, if my mom, for example, this is not a conversation that we would ever have had. Maybe, I don't know, fucking net, whatever. If my mom, who is shitty for completely unrelated reasons, if she was like, you're my daughter and da-da-da-da-da, I'd be like, okay, Jim, how's your testicles doing? Like, I don't, like I would just be a huge cunt, you know what I mean? I mean, if someone punches me, I feel like I get to punch them back. Yeah, thank you. Like, in a, this is how you're making me feel. That's what I mean, Baphomet. Like, I don't just mean, like, to be mean, although I am increasingly the kind of person who does just want to be mean to people who are mean to me. But it's also, like, this is how you're making me feel, right? Misgender binary trans people with neo pronouns. I don't think I've ever met a binary trans person with neos, TBH. I think that really I know vanishingly few binary trans people. I feel like I need to do another. It's been a long time. Actually, shit, I might have been like half the size on my Twitter account the last time I did this. At one point, I did a huge like thread of polls that were like, if you're a viewer of mine, are you like transmasculine, transfeminine, da-da-da-da-da? Like, because I was curious about my statistics, you know, like of the people who follow me, which ones are transmasculine, which ones are like assigned female, like which ones use neo pronouns, which ones are binary versus non-binary. And I just thought that was really interesting information to look at. And I would be very curious how many binary trans people are in my spheres, really, or if there are, like, because I know a lot of women who ultimately will describe themselves as non-binary women if you get to know them a little better. And I don't mean like they fabs pretending to be trans or whatever bullshit made up thing that is. I mean like trans women who identify as non-binary women, right? I've had 2 IRL trans friends, and both, as far as they told me, were binary trans people. Okay. You could set up a proper poll and blast it on the Discord, Twitter, and YouTube community page and just try to get as many people as possible. That's true. I've never organized like a poll like that. I guess I could use like a Google form, right? Even people I know who use binary labels don't really see themselves in a binary. Yeah, this is exactly what I mean. Typically, and a lot of the times, frankly, people always say like, oh, being non-binary is a phase. But I think kind of frankly more often that people come out as binary trans, and then once they start driving toward that objective, they go like, oh, actually, I don't think I'm binary trans. I'm probably more non-binary, which is one of the ways in which transmedicalism is actually going to create more detransitioners for us to deal with, because of the idea that you must get XYZ hormone surgery, whatever, in order to be validly trans. You must identify as binary in order to be validly trans. Like, it's just not going to go well. Vespid in our system considers herself binary, though sharing a body means she blurs with non-binary experiences. Okay, so you've got one. Most of us are binary. All right, well, I guess between I guess Nuvenal has given me access to knowing a lot of binary trans people, or a number. I don't know how large of a number. It's funny, when I transitioned medically, I started using neopronouns along with they, them. Yeah, it's like before your medical validity comes in, like I mean like once you start to feel valid in your body, like you transition, like I feel much more comfortable being feminine the more masculinized my body has become. Like the deeper my voice is. Like I really love the idea of, you all remember my character that I played for Halloween this year? If you weren't here, I'll show you a photo of the outfit or like the makeup and shit that I was wearing when we did stream last. Or not the last stream, but the one previous to that. Oh my god, I tweet so much. And also this set of photos is on my Fansly if you're interested. But this character I think of as, like, this is a character. Like, I was embodying a character. Like, its name is Mephisto, and I like the idea of being Mephisto. Like, I really like the idea of being Mephisto and trying to voice train down as much as I can for while I'm playing Mephisto, so that while I'm playing this, like, extremely feminine-looking demon, I can also be, like, sounding as masculine as I possibly can. My voice is not really doing it today, though. Like, my voice sounds all fucked up today. So yeah, I don't know if you want to see the rest of that photo set. Go to Fansly. Her name, they also use any all pronouns. It's like Mephistopheles. Like this. Mephistopheles. But Mephisto, short for Mephistopheles. Survey, tell us another story about other discrimination you face. Yeah. Me, not a chance in hell you're getting more secrets out of me. That has vibes of him from Powerpuff Girls. I kind of get, yeah, it kind of does. I also really like the idea of calling him Phil, though. Just calling him Phil. Like Phil. Oh, well, you cannot see it behind my my fat fucking head. Come on, man. Mephistopheles. There it is. Now you can finally fucking see it. So, yeah, Mephistopheles. Mephisto is short for Mephistopheles. And then I also really like the idea of calling this character Phil. Like, look at this character on the screen, like, hey, what's up, my name is Phil. You know, like, like, I just think that would be very fucking stupid and therefore extremely funny. I'm glad that you all liked the outfit, because I sure liked it. I enjoyed the makeup and everything. Oh shit, you know what? I should probably add this to this thingy. Hold on. Oh, are we gonna load? Come on, Streamlabs, let's load. My computer is being very slow today. I'm not really sure what the deal is. But my internet is just horked out. Okay. That's not what I meant to do. I almost put my monthly goal at $10,000. How crazy would that be? If I was like, yeah, my monthly stream goal is $10,000. Oh my god. I would never reach it. I already basically never reach the goal every month, but it's fine. I'm not upset. Let's get the tabs back open. Give me the tabs. I loved him from Powerpuff Girls. Mephisto. Kara says, I was watching you when I was a binary trans woman and still now while I'm non-binary. Nice. Maybe you participated in the thing before then. I dislike being called love, but have heard it's gender neutral, though see it as a femme thing personally. Phoebe, are you European? Or are you American? Because I generally interpret it as just like something that older women say to younger people. In general. So, okay, let's see. Do we have any other fucking news we want to talk about today? I am almost getting to that 3-hour mark, but like I said, it's the daytime, and I'm a lot more, like, energetic than usual. After stream, I'm gonna... Listen, I got some veggie burgers okay? Because my partner and I were like, I mean, obviously, like, I'm about to move out, but we were talking about, like, trying out more protein supplements. Not like supplements, but like meat substitutes. You know, I got some... Speaking of, what's up, Morningstar system, there is a brand called Morningstar of, like, vegetarian products. So I got these, like, little taquito things that were, like, pretend chicken and cheese taquitos, and they were yummy. I like them a lot. So I also got some, like, Beyond Beef. It's not Beyond Beef. It's not... I think it's Morningstar brand, just, like, burger patties, fake burger patties, and that's what I'm gonna cook after stream today, and I'm so excited to try them because I think they'll be yummy. Why do I have so many notifications on Twitter? I don't know why. I'm English. Women will call anyone love, but men will only call women and girls love. Yeah, I think that is probably true. Like, if an older man will call women and girls love, but older women, I perceive, like, older women as calling anyone that. Just me. Yo, I just fucking deleted my Twitter the other day. I'm free. If you ever want to come back, your at might be gone. So just consider that. Yeah, we actually really like that. We don't really taste the difference between it and meat. Yeah, I've never had the beef patty or whatever, you know? Don't plan on it. Hey, you know what? No worries. I'm going to remain on Twitter because that's where I get all of the news for this stream. Like, that's where I get all of the news for this show. I call everyone hun. I try really hard not to, but I can't really get the South out of myself. Hun is a tricky one because I mostly call people hun who I'm like, they need help with something. I mean, it's diminutive. It's a sweet thing. But I also realize that a lot of trans women get called hun as, like, a derogatory. So that's the reason why I stay aware of saying hun, is not because I think it's going to misgender someone, but because I think that in the trans feminine community, it's a roundabout way of calling someone a brick. And so I have to be aware of that. Oh, brick, if you're not aware of trans feminine culture, I mean, a brick is like, you know, boxy, you know, it's got like these square, hard edges. If you're calling a trans woman a brick, you're calling her, like, manly. Like, she's too angular. She can't pass. She's too broad or whatever. Brick, you know? Hollow's Twitter account is the one we spend the most time on. It follows cool writing stuff. Yes. That's awesome. It's good to have good stuff that you're following, like stuff that is making it happy for you. Yeah, it was already bad for my mental health, and I've been wanting to go back to Tumblr for years. I'm on Tumblr. If everything goes tits up at fucking Twitter HQ, in the sense that if we try to load into the website and it just doesn't load, I'm Luxander Real at Tumblr, like on Tumblr, luxanderreal.tumblr.com. I don't know if I'm going to use that very actively, but I'm going to at least try to have a presence on these different sites. Why so much butch phobia from trans women to other trans women? I think it's very much like, I think it's the same sort of cringe internal community policing that Calvin Guerra tended to do. Oh, funny you say that because my girlfriend is the one who told me that, and that's the reason I tried not to say hun. The rumor come out, does Luxander is real? True. But yeah, I think that there's butch phobia from trans women to other trans women because it's like when Rose of Dawn was like, you know, you can't come into the women's restroom looking like a bull seal. You know, if you want to be in the women's restroom, you must look dainty and cute. And I think the idea behind that is like you're making trans women seem scary. Like because you are not working very hard to pass, you look like a trans woman. You look like a brick. Like you are what people have in their heads when they say they don't want trans women in bathrooms. You know, they're thinking like, well, I pass and I worked really hard to pass. And so if you try to normalize like looking like a man in a women's bathroom, basically like then that's going to make me look bad as a normal trans person who just wants to assimilate. Like, I think that's fundamentally where the butch phobia comes in the trans women community, but that's pure speculation. You know what? It has literally never occurred to me until just this moment. Like, is there anything in the trans community that I should not just openly comment and speculate about that way? Like, if someone's like asking me like butch phobia from trans women to other trans women, should I not answer those questions? Should I be like, I don't know, that sounds like an issue for trans women to discuss? Because that literally never occurs to me. I'm like, oh, I can think of a good reason for that. IDK, I think I find a certain comfort in there never being porn on Tumblr again because I've been trying and failing for years to have a safe for work Twitter. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. And like, I don't think that there is any setting on Twitter to just turn off nudity, but there is on Tumblr. You can remove nudity from the timeline. You may have missed some important things, Anansi. No worries. I'm getting closer to getting caught up on having all of the streams uploaded, and then I'm going to try to stay on top of that as much as I can. So nudity is on Tumblr, but porn is not on Tumblr, to clarify. They did just change the rule about nudity, but you still cannot show any explicit acts of sex. Like you could show a male model nude, but if he was like touching his penis and making it look like he was jerking off, like that probably wouldn't be on there. I wonder if Intentions Nasty's art could theoretically be allowed on Tumblr. Again, I think it's mostly like if there's a nude form, that's okay. But as soon as like sex acts are happening, then that's not TOS, according to Tumblr. Yeah, Decoy Duck, we're on Smuggy Dick's chat. I do technically still have more news that I could go into, but I'm enjoying taking this little aside. Smuggy. I have a few mutuals on Twitter who post not safe for work stuff / nudity, and sometimes I forget. It's like, oh yeah. I kind of enjoy the normalcy of porn on my timeline, but I am not asexual. I mean, like, I'm demisexual, but that's, I mean, I can still appreciate, like, it just feels so normal. Like, I just see, like, I see trans women and their boobs and their dicks, and I'm like, yep. And then I see a really artistic looking, like, trans man, and, like, he's nude, and you can see his, like, vulva. And he was like wearing angel wings and just looked so smooth skinned and like Adonis. And I was like, wow, I love having the normalcy of trans bodies in my feed. I think any boundary that someone would try to draw between porn and art is silly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's like, I'm not trying to make a distinction between porn and art. I'm just trying to make a distinction between whether sex acts are being, portrayed or depicted. Oh, I do too. It's more like, oh yeah, we're mutuals. Yeah. If it's got urns, it's art and not filth. What the fuck does that mean? Oh, you're good, Max. Yeah. No dicks. Take them out. Many of us are ace, but not repulsed. We love looking. We prefer for that to be all. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, we've been talking about Tumblr a bit, Trout Dealer. Welcome in. Gray sexual, hypersexual, it sucks. Wait, wreckage. Wait, what does that mean? Gray sexual, hypersexual, does that mean that, like, you are, like, hypersexual sometimes and, like, totally ace other times? It's about how classical Greek nudes that have urns are high class. Okay, interesting. High sex drive, not desire to do anything. I cannot stop thinking about sex or wanting sex, but also have no target for that desire most of the time. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Because I know gray sexual, gray ace is a very broad kind of umbrella term for asexuals. Like, you know, this is a conversation that I've been having with my partner recently and like thinking about it and stuff is like, I think that technically, definitionally, my partner is ace flux because it's basically just like off most of the time. And then occasionally it's like, hello, interest exists. Otherwise it's like zero. And I've also, it's like, I guess like gray ace is like a broader definition by which ace flux could be underneath. Yeah, Decoy Duck. I think that was the joke that was being made. It was recanting Terry Pratchett's joke about the difference between smut and classic art having an urn in it. Okay, I just had never thought about classic art having urns in at all. I'm very hypersexual and hate that I have nowhere for it to go. Same, Anansi. I'm like demisexual hypersexual. I'm like demi, so I'm like violently repulsed by the idea of having sex with someone that I don't have like an emotional connection with or like that sort of emotional safety. Like it makes my junk want to slurp itself all the way up into my abdomen and then seal off forever. Like that's like the sensation that I have when I consider the idea of actually trying to have sex with someone who I don't know very well. And it is very weird. But then like once I'm in the context of the relationship, like it's torture to me that my partner is ace flux because I could go way more often than that. Yeah, Wreckage. Masturbation as maintenance rather than pleasure is a very hypersexual meme. Like I don't really masturbate to have fun. Like I do it because I can't get any work done otherwise. And that really kind of takes something out of it. It really takes something out of it. But hey, I'm about to be living alone. So maybe there will be more opportunity for me to just masturbate because I want to. I don't know. Could be fun. I've got like a tab open on my computer right now of like looking at new dildos. So maybe I'll get a new one. Why is slurp such an uncomfy word? I know, I use it on purpose. I masturbate out of duty. I hate masturbating. It's such a chore. I don't know what any of my fellow hypersexuals in the chat are equipped with, but when you have, if you have an estrogenic system, like if you have estrogen in your body, and particularly if you have a vulva, and I guess this is also true if you have a vulva and testosterone in your body, basically, it tends to be, if you're bipinist, unless you're on a lot of estrogen and progesterone and stuff, you tend to have a refractory period, right? Where like you masturbate and then you really, really, really don't want to do it again for a while. That's not how it works. Broadly speaking, when you have a vulva, you basically just like have you have an orgasm and then you're like, good, solid, we're done, excellent. And you try to move about your day. And then like within 3 minutes, your body's like, hey, you know, what would be really great is if we did that again. The first one is a warm up. Exactly. Yeah. It's so frustrating to me. E says, give me more. I can go again. Let me go. I want more. Exactly. For sure. I hate masturbating on E because like when I was on T, it was just one and done. I have no refractory period, so I don't know when I'm done. It's so frustrating. Like, I don't know if this will help any of you who deal with this problem, but what I have started to do is I just edge a lot. Like, because that would be my problem is I would finish in a relatively short period of time and then get up and try to do something else and then be like, I have to go fucking do it again. If you edge it out for like 3 times as long as you would normally spend, and then you let it go, that is more reliable at putting an end to it. Like That's fairly reliable at like just shh. I don't want to deal with this anymore. So try that. Let me know how it goes. I'm on antidepressants too. Oh my God, that's so fucking frustrating. That's insane. I'm so sorry. I wish someone would edge me. I know how it goes. Listen, I know how it is. I did Locktober and November. Really? Yeah, try it out. Let me know if it works, y'all. One of our fronters used to go out and find random hookups to try and sate that libido. And then there were huge fights afterwards because no respect or communication internally. Like, we kind of need to be all on board and ready when doing that shit, or it gets really fucked up really quick. Yeah, was it you, Morningstar System, who had mentioned at one point that, like, you had a switch while you were in the middle of engaging with activity with your boyfriend, and you had to stop because whoever switched in was not ready for that? That sounds really difficult and frustrating. Life is edging me. My edging is staying at my family's place and not having privacy. Oh no. Partner told me Steve Jobs died of eczema. I asked what it was, clueless. Worst mistake of my life. Oh, that's funny. I get that too. Oh, Game Gang says, I get that. I definitely experience hypersexuality and then aversion the next day. I mean, like, my partner is not, like, averse. I mean, yeah, no, it's not really aversion. It's more like just there's no physiological presence. Like, it's very strange. It's not like a mental aversion. It's like a physical, like, lack of response. Yeah, it was, to be fair, Morningstar System, it was like several years ago. And honestly, like, I don't really know how stuff works in terms of, like, how many people in the system am I talking to present day who I was also having same conversations with a few years ago? Because you've gone through, like, there's, like, new ones that come in, and some of them just kind of, like, go back to what they were doing their own thing, and then sometimes you have, like, fusions and splits. So yeah, that's an interesting aspect of getting to know y'all, is that, yeah, plurality be like that. Polyfragmented, yeah. Game Gang, bringing in the polyfragmented stuff. The only version I have is when I use porn as an unhealthy coping mechanism. Leads me to some weird places. Oh, gosh. I'm enjoying our conversations today. I'm super excited that there's so many people hanging out. Just enjoying us talking about all kinds of random bullshit. Oh no, did you just bite? Wait, what? What are you saying? I thought that was a raw egg and the lemon was a yolk. Oh no, what did you do? Conversations here are never boring. Are you chugging eggs? Oh, in the cup. Oh, this is a lemon. Yes. How would that work? Oh, you thought the entire thing was a raw egg? No, I would never do such a thing. I recently ate a soft-boiled egg that was cold, and I wanted to vomit. Because, like, the consistency is, like, mucus. And it's not great. It's fine when it's hot and, like, thick. Or, I mean, it's, like, liquidy, so it's actually less thick. Yeah. It was not a good time. I love a soft-boiled egg, but it's got to be, like, a fresh, just got done cooking, still hot. Phoebe, Emily, and Hollow are the ones still around who would have been main ones talking back then. Okay. I feel like Hollow is a relatively new person. Like, when I'm thinking of, like, honestly, how long ago was that? Like 5 years ago when we were all active in my other Discord server? I have a new Discord server now, totally different. Soft boiled egg on ramen. Exactly. Oh my god, excuse me. I keep burping. It's just not gonna stop today, I guess. I had an egg sandwich today and the egg was cut into 2 big pieces, so I get where you're coming from. I've been eating a lot of eggs lately. You boil them, mash them, put them in a stew. Uh-oh. Are we having a romance beginning in YouTube chat right now? Nama is newer in terms of system stuff, but showed up pretty early after we joined your server. Hollow is a carryover with the fusion. Ah, okay. Yeah. I think of Nama sometimes. I'm like, damn. Nama was like, cool. Potatoes. Exactly. Thank you. I also had French toast last night. When was the last time you had French toast? It's so easy to make. If you have bread in the house, you crack an egg, you put a little bit of milk in there, and then some sugar and some cinnamon and a little tiny bit of salt. And you whisk it up, and you just slosh the bread in it and fucking cook it for like 2 minutes. It's delicious. Look, I can't do anything fancy, but I cook for everyone in my life. Almost said coom. Look, I can't do anything fancy, but I coom for everyone in my life. True. Potatoes are unironically the best food. Truly, I think that potatoes are like one of the best things that have ever happened to the world. You cook and I'll coom. I usually have eggs late at night instead of in the morning. Yeah, when I usually eat scrambled eggs like toward the nighttime. Potatoes are the best staple food. They're so versatile. Like, listen, you got your vodka, you got your french fries / tater tots, you know, you got your fucking mashed taters, you got your scallop taters. I could just go on and on and on. I could do like a Bubba Gump. You know when Bubba Gump goes on and he's like, or no, his name isn't Bubba Gump. Sorry, that's the name of the restaurant. Bubba from Forrest Gump movie, and how he's like, yeah. You got shrimp like this. You can do shrimp scampi, shrimp blah blah. Like I could just blah 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 go on and on and on about potatoes. You got your scallop taters. You got your fucking French fries. Like you got your potato cake. You got your potato pancake. You know, like you could just fucking go forever. Hollow's still different, but it's not a blank slate anymore. It's so interesting how you all grow and develop. I could do the same thing for shrimp too, TBH, but I don't love eating meat, just conceptually. Listen, roasted potatoes, just trout dealer. Don't be sleeping on fucking roasted potatoes either. God, they're so good. Number 1, cheese. Number 2, potato. Cheese is pretty fantastic too. They really just like synergize with each other in a fantastic way. I gotta change my goddamn camera angle. Look at how low I am in this shot. I'm sitting comfortably and I'm like so low in the shot. I gotta like sit up like this in order to be visible, and it's uncomfortable. Baked potatoes. I'm missing. I haven't had a baked potato in a long time, but I would like to have one. I guess I did have a baked potato fairly recently, and it was fine. Loaded with cheese and butter and onions and sour cream. Oh my god. I'm getting so hungry. I've never had latkes before, but they do seem good. Boiled potatoes are nice. I don't think I would eat just boiled potatoes. If I'm gonna boil potatoes, I'm gonna make potato soup out of it, is what I'm trying to say. English chip shop chips and Bombay potatoes are the best ways to cook potato. Dave, when you mean English chip shop chips, is that like, are they like waffle fries? Is that what, like fish and chips? Isn't that what you typically get? Like they're like waffle fries, right? Oh no, they're more like, are they more chunky? Are they more like these like thick steak? We'd call this like a steak fry. I don't know. Boiled potatoes with mayo, yes, no. I don't really like mayo. Like, I can tolerate a sandwich with mayo on it, but I don't like it. So unless the mayo is like cooked into something or like kind of indiscernible, I don't think I would like it. Like, ooh, that doesn't sound, ooh. Yeah, more like steak fries, yeah. When I had my wisdom teeth removed, I basically survived on mashed potatoes. It's when you get your wisdom teeth removed, it's like mashed potatoes, it's jello, it's pudding, it's whatever you can do. Mayo is worst condiment. I'm gonna have to agree. I think mayo might be the worst condiment. Fish sauce is not a great condiment. But when it's good, boy, it's what you want. You tried to say rat boy and it said eat bo. What have you done? Relish is worse than mayo to me. Okay, I don't like sweet relish. Sweet relish is a crime because sweet pickles are a crime. But if you get me some dill relish, I'm all over it. I'm all over it. See you later, Peapot Fairy. I appreciate your dono. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate you. Mayo is gross. Vegan mayo, though, I love. What's the dill with the relish? Very funny, Mickey. I actually, I don't think that we can watch it because of the nature of YouTube copyright. But the Try Guys did a video called, like, the Try Guys Try Stand-Up. And it just makes me, it just repeatedly reminds me that I would love, like, I think I would be good at stand-up and I think it would be fun. I would actually kind of love to do a stand-up set. But I also don't want to go anywhere where there might be a stand-up set because I'm actually getting really pissed off at how few people are wearing masks in any public places. And I'm pretty sure this winter, like, there's a distinct possibility that I will see 0 people between when I move into my new apartment and, like, late spring. Because I don't know that anyone around me is doing the same amount of risk assessment that I am. I want a trend on social media where pinned posts are trans people's 5-minute sets. Yeah, that would be awesome. Stand up that incorporates the chat. Oh no. I think they'd be funnier than most half-hour specials. True. Sweet pickles are the worst except for sauerkraut. Okay, bye. Yeah, I just don't like sweet pickles. Here's what sweet pickles did, okay? Here's what sweet pickles did to me. I want you to know what happened to me, okay? I was like this tall, you know? I was down here. I was a little baby. I was only, like, the table was like this to my nose. I was like, oh. And you know, they have those round white containers that have the little, like, little segments around. And that's where they put all the crudité. Crudité is the word for that when you have a, like, oh, and here's, like, some cherry tomatoes, and here's, like, some celery, and there's, like, a thing of dip in the center, you know? And, you know, there's, like, oh, here's broccoli, here's cauliflower, whatever. There was one of those on the table, and there were baby pickles. Little baby pickles like that. And I was like, I love pickles so much. Let me tell you, tiny Luxander did not know about the existence of sweet pickles, okay? The only pickles that tiny Luxander had any idea existed were dill pickles, right? So I grab this pickle, and I just go, hung, and it's a sweet pickle, and I have never gotten over that. Like, I was so small, and it's, like, so vivid. And I can, like, taste the sweet pickle too, and it's like, oh, like I can simulate the taste of it, and it's disgusting to me. That's the thing. Being trans is hilarious. So much to laugh at. Our genitals is the bottom of the barrel. I think it would be a lot of fun to start a stand-up set by basically being like, so I know, like, my voice sounds kind of weird, and probably some of you were wondering about that, and, like, pretend like I'm about to say, like, I'm trans, but then, like, be like, I know what you're gonna think. That guy must be, like, and then just, like, a vegetarian or something like that, a cat lover, like some kind of joke about being a liberal or queer, but like not directly. Like I think that would be a fun opener, because like that is the one thing that I have concern about when I go up on a stage, is because people are like, people are like, I can't tell what you are. And so that's kind of like the thing that you have to do when you are a gender non-conforming person, is you kind of have to put people at ease some other way. It's just like a thing that I'm really conscious of. Call me fag junkie. Sweet relish is the only acceptable form of sweet pickle IMO, and I only like it because of Chicago-style hot dogs. I've never had one. Trans people are funny. They make me laugh in a good way. Me discovering what vodka was when water in the freezer was not water. Oh my god. You ate something you weren't ready for and that was it. I know you hear my voice and are questioning. Yes, I'm a vegan. Yeah, pretty like a joke like that. Yeah, for sure. C'est moi. True. Have you seen Axis of Awesome, The Elephant in the Room? I maybe have. It's been a while. If I did, it's been a long time. Yeah, I bet you're all wondering, are they like normal? There was a really good George Carlin joke that was really similar. Okay. Sweet pickles are the bane of my existence. Dill pickles / relish are one of the best foods, while sweet ones are one of the worst. It's like Among Us. Yeah, sus. It is so sus.
One of the disadvantages.
Okay. We're not listening to George Carlin on stream real quick. That's for me. That's for me for later, okay? Did you guys know that Wilford Brimley was in 1982 The Thing? Did you know that? Did you know that Wilford Brimley was in John Carpenter's The Thing? Because that is one of the funniest things I've ever learned in my life. Are they like normal or are they cis? True. I had a friend introduce himself in a meeting by saying, "Don't worry, I left my dolly wig in the car. I know this is a formal event." Bread and butter pickle slap and you're all wrong. Soy boy, first of all, bread and butter pickles are distinct from sweet pickles. Those are not the same thing. And second of all, fuck you. Oh my goodness. I'm having a fun time. I'm posthumously giving George Carlin the F-slur pass. True. I always liked that horror movie. Yeah, Mersh, I had never seen it. I had never seen The Thing before, and I found it pretty enjoyable. I believe he played Bigger Luke in the Star Wars films. What? Bread and butter pickles so good on a bologna sandwich. I just cannot abide any pickles that aren't kosher dills. Like, maybe not kosher specifically, but dill pickles? Bro, like, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. Oh my god, Jeff Jacques has been posting some hilarious shit on Twitter today. Yeah, no, cryptid furry, like, pickles are not supposed to be sweet in any form or fashion. Fuck, now I'm hungry. Yeah, I've been getting, like, increasingly hungry the longer we go, but I'm also like having a really great time, and we have like 50 people here hanging out, and you know, it's not like a huge dono day, but that's fine. It's the beginning of the month, and it never is very steady on donos at the beginning of the month. But if you're feeling it, I'm gonna move in like a few weeks, and it would be great if I could afford to have a bed in my new apartment. Pickles in Sweden are generally sweet. I like pickled beets. See, this is like, I didn't know the first time I ate a pickled egg that it was going to be mildly sweet. And I was like, wow, that's fucked up. Put chocolate bars in Lux's pickle jars to stop them from eating that evil shit? No. Like, dill pickles have more salt in them, I think, is the thing, is part of it. Like, a sweet pickled egg? Yeah. The only time I've eaten a pickled egg, it was like tiny bit sweet. But yeah, as previously discussed, I have a health condition that requires that I eat like 12 times the normal amount of salt in a day. Quarbarian, thank you so much for the $5 dono. I appreciate you. I would like to try pickled eggs that are more sour, like that are more like dill. That would be yummy, I think. Hell yeah, dude. Motherfucking bullies better watch their ass. Okay. Sometimes I just get music that just like... You have like trigger phrases, you know? Where you think to yourself like, hell yeah. And then the one song, you know, in which someone goes like, hell yeah. Like every single time you think hell yeah to yourself, your brain just like kicks the song on. It's great. Make your own. I like having my own dill spicy eggs. It probably wouldn't even be that hard to do. But pickling, like, you have to be careful when you're like canning and pickling stuff because you can kill yourself. like you can just unalive by mistake. "12 times the amount of kosher pickles" sounds more like it. Listen, if you don't chill the fuck out, I'm gonna go get the pickle jar and drink straight pickle juice on stream in front of everybody. And it's gonna be delicious. I love doing that. Listen, sometimes you're feeling really like overheated and fucked up and you just need to drink straight pickle juice, right? Threatened with a good time. I mean, Anansi, like, you're challenging my manliness? Is that what you're doing? Do it, .gif. My cousin would drink pickled herring juice as a kid. Oh my god, that's awful. I do want some, though. You can even tell that this was a jar that has already been dranken out of, or it would have way more pickle juice in it. Ah, yes. It's the fermented one you need to stay away from. Yeah, yeah, I guess it's fermenting stuff. The controlled rot. Oh my god, I'm salivating so much. Yum. Refreshing. Chug, chug, chug. I can't chug because then my pickle juice would be dry. Or my pickles would be dry. They would not have any pickle juice. Yeah, I love how the smell of pickle juice does it to you. I don't even have to smell pickle juice. I just have to think about eating pickles. And then it's like... Anyway, I always throw the juice away. I will like leave an empty jar. Yeah, the goblin walk. I will leave an empty jar of pickle juice in the fridge until it gets drank. Unless it's like fucking bread and butter pickles. My partner eats bread and butter pickles and I'm like, get these the fuck out of my fridge. Mephistopheles eating pickles and drinking the juice. True. See, this is one of the ways in which I'm like, this is part of why I relate so much with trans feminine people, because I've always loved pickles. I'm like, there are certain parts of trans femme culture that I'm just like, fuck yeah. Like, I'm really into thigh-high stripy socks. The trans femmes are really hot on the high socks, you know? True. Mouth says, give me pickle. Mm-hmm. That's a stereotype. Trans girls, smuggy. True. I love trans girls. Trans people in general, smuggy. True. Excuse me. Oh my god, yummy. Okay. Pickle burps. You know what's great is having the taste of pickles in your mouth and then returning to drinking your coffee. Yum. I'm so itchy. Okay. I also love those socks. Yeah, this is part of why I think it would be fun to do feet Fridays on Fansly, is because I dips pickles in coffee. Oh my God. I've just, you've destroyed my brain. You've destroyed my brain. Examining my gender to come to the conclusion that I am cis was a waste of time. It should have been clear by the fact that I hate pickles. There are trans girls who hate pickles. It's just that the medicine spironolactone makes you crave salt because it's a diuretic and it fucking makes you pee out all your salt. TBH, though, there's only two types of people who love thigh-high socks and liars. I guess my partner is a liar. He's at least indifferent. Did you cover the AFAB transfem thing that was going on Twitter? Did we cover that? That's a good question. I'll check my notes. Did we cover that? We talked about... I don't think so. I don't think I ended up weighing in on that. Although... So, because here's the reason why. Is because the term originated in the intersex community, and on the basis of that, I don't really understand it. Like, I don't understand what AFAB transfem means, because it was... Because TERFs keep pointing at this thing like, haha, like, whatever, it's meaningless, whatever, like, but, I think that AFAB trans woman or trans femme refers to, like, I think what happens is, like, it's someone who was assigned female but has testicles inside them, so they develop into a masculine person, but then they transition to be feminine. Like, that's kind of like the reason why I didn't get into it is because I think that if we grant validity to the whole, like, how can you be trans femme and AFAB at the same time? Like, it's really like feeding into a toxic and false narrative about what the phrase even means, you know? You know what? I'm going to say it. AFAB trans femmes are based. But, like, as we've had this discourse coming up, I've been thinking to myself, like, I mean, technically, I feel like I am one of the closest things to a person that you could describe as AFAB trans femme. Like, I was assigned, assuming that we're talking about stupid fucking discourse shit and not, like, the very real issues of being assigned female and then developing as male because you have testicles inside your body and then being dysphoric about that, you know, like, and choosing to transition away from it. If we're talking about the stupid discourse version of the term and what it could mean potentially there, like, I was assigned female, and technically, like, if you want to just go on hormones, technically I am FTMTFTMTF. Based on the chunks of time that I've gone on and off hormones. So, and I also, like, I masculinized my body. And now that my body is masculinized, I feel comfortable being feminine. Like, I wasn't comfortable being feminine before my body masculinized. I wasn't. So in that way, like, and like now I do consider myself a femboy, which is a term that trans women tend to use. You know? But I also have always thought, like, trans femme refers to a transition and trans masc refers to transition. Like, I don't really consider myself particularly masculine in my presentation at this point. I mean, this is what masculine presentation is for me. It's lazy as shit, you know? But I'm trans masculine because I've masculinized my body. I've androgenized my body. So to me, that's what trans masc and trans femme have always meant, which is, I think, why people find this sort of contradictory, because they're like, how can you be trans femme if you started out with estrogen in your body? You know? But again, I do think that if you were to consider me FTMTFTMTF, then technically speaking, somewhere in there you could call that trans feminine. But I don't identify as that. Like, I'm comfortable being like, I'm a trans masc femboy because I think that that's actually accurate to the terms. Saw a butch lesbian on Twitter talking about taking tea to become a hotter woman. That's fucking insane, but I love it. I mean, to me, it's not even just about being inclusive to intercourse. If you identify with your AGAB in a way that doesn't feel cis, then that's valid. Oh, you meant intersex people, not intercourse. Sorry, let me rephrase. I mean, to me, it's not even about being inclusive to intersex people. If you identify with your AGAB in a way that doesn't feel cis, then that's valid. Yeah. Latex thigh highs are even better. Trout dealer, I think that I would actually die of heat stroke if I put latex anywhere on my body. Hello, Hollow. Hello. Hollow is also a femboy. Yes, excellent. Speaking about, saw a butch lesbian on Twitter talking about taking tea to become a hotter woman. I was recently introduced. So I recently tweeted like, I want to find some D-trans voices that are worth listening to or whatever. Oh God, I wonder if this is going to be in my history in any kind of meaningful capacity, or if it's going to take forever to get there. So many Game of Thrones videos and Good Mythical Mornings. Can I search? Yeah, D-trans. I'm going to type in my search history, because you can do that on Twitter. Nope, that wasn't it. Okay, here it is. So this, I think she identifies as a woman now. She, someone recommended her to me, and I followed her on Twitter, and then someone recommended this video. So I think she's crazy hot. Like she, this video is from 2 years ago. She had detransitioned. She had only been detransitioned for about 6 months in this video. And I just want to like her voice really works for her like alternative girl look too. Like her sounding, her testosterone sounding voice. So here, I want to listen to a little bit of her speak.
Was a trans man. I wanted to detransition, and one of the first and major insecurities that I had that almost stopped me from detransitioning at all was my voice. Because back then, my voice was
Is she not like really fucking hot? Like, yeah, it was a thirst follow for me. Yeah, for sure. It is also about being inclusive to intersex people, to be clear, and also inclusive to non-binary people. But I think if you identify as your assigned sex, but in a way that doesn't feel cis to you, then like, yeah, I just like don't care about the words that people use. Right. Yeah. Mommy, sorry. Mommy, sorry. Mommy, sorry. Like with her like hair extensions, and everything.
A lot deeper than it was before. It wasn't nearly as light in pitch as it is
like
now.
She's like an alternative girl, and her sleeve is really cool. I like the septum. Like, she is so hot, and she would be less hot if she had never been on testosterone. Like, I'm for real. She would be way less hot if she had never been on T, because it's those qualities that make this work for her. Actually, I think she is a sex worker, so I think she has an OnlyFans, so if you're interested. I actually do think she's also more feminine looking now, which is natural. Like, she's only been off T for like 6 months in this video, so her face is going to continue to feminize. Honestly, she doesn't look nearly as much like this nowadays. And, yeah, I have a deep appreciation for how hot she is. Also, the way T dickifies a clit. Yeah. Reportedly, mine was extremely difficult to locate previously. And now, it's much easier to locate. I wish I could look like her. Right, like she's so hot. My partner is trans femme and has done both E and progesterone, and now she wants to take some testosterone, and I'm like, yes, baby, let's go. I'm down bad again. I know. I'm getting everybody down bad. My fault. Can't help myself sometimes, you know? We're all down bad. I'll be feeling it with you this winter, okay? She also said she didn't feel 100% cis either because of the effects of T, but it did not bother her. That's such a weird thing to me when people are like, I don't feel cis because of the effects of T. Like, does that mean, like, I mean, is she just like, I'm non-binary now? Like, I don't know. It's not uncommon for D-trans people to not fully, like, revert to identifying as cisgender, but rather to start identifying as non-binary. And that's weird to me because I'm like, what does detransition mean? I think the answer is it means different things to different people. Like, for some people, it's like, I hardcore don't identify with being anything like this anymore. And for some people, it's just like, I wish I hadn't had top surgery, but I still identify as non-binary, you know? She feels like her experience is a bit like that of a trans woman. That's exactly what the fuck I've been trying to say. Okay, listen. This is what got me in so much trouble with Calvin Guerra back in the day. Like, when I first went off of testosterone, actually, I had been off of T for about a year at the time that I made this video. I was like, I went off T and I'm fine, and you can do this and it's fine. And additionally, I was like, I feel like I can relate to trans women so much more now because, you know, my skin texture changed on testosterone and made it rough and like not pleasant to touch anymore, just for me. I'm like, you know, I would be rubbing the back of my neck and I'd be like, it feels like I have eczema or something on my neck. And then I would look and there would be nothing. And it's just like my skin is rough and it feels bad. So when I went off T and my skin started to be soft again, I was like, oh, wow, like this is what it's like for my trans women friends when they are starting with a skin texture that they don't like and move into having a skin texture that they do like. Like, I feel like I can understand a lot better what trans women go through because I've watched, like, my hairline right now is filling back in. Like, my hairline receded a bit on T and it's starting to fill back in. And so, like, I'm sure that that's something that trans women deal with. Like, my body hair thins out a little bit when I'm not on T. Some things do permanently change, like, for sure. Some of my body hair changes are even permanent. Like, I get hairs here on my chin that I pluck out because I don't really want to have facial hair. I don't consider myself detrans even though I primarily ID as male now because, like, living as a binary trans person has changed my perspective on my gender identity in such a way that I could never really consider myself cis again. I've been there and back, you know. I think that's part of why I don't like the labels trans femme and trans masc being used exclusively for AMAB and AFAB people. I think on some level, I feel like trans masc applies to me because I still consider myself trans and masculine, if that makes sense. That's just not what the words mean to me. Like, I don't think that trans masculine means I am trans and masculine. If it did, like, I mean, like, those are two different words. Trans masculine is its own word with a separate meaning. Like, I'm not trans feminine just because I'm trans and feminine. Like, I would say, like, you could say trans masc like resounds with you because you were on estrogen before and now you're not. Like, that would kind of make more sense to me. That's the only context in which I feel like I could call myself trans feminine is because I have an androgenized body that I'm currently allowing to estrogenize. And, like, because I want it to. Like, I'm not detransing. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just like the more fucky I look at this point. Like, the more abstracted away from humanity I can get at this point. Are trans masks who aren't on T valid? I think, like, yeah, like, moving toward the social role is certainly part of it. And, like, they also tend to do other things to masculinize their bodies even if they're not on T. Like, binding your breasts is a way of masculinizing your body, even if it's non-permanent. Putting the mascara mustache on is masculinizing your body, even if it's not permanent. You know what I'm trying to say? And, like, there are trans masks who, like, get top surgery but don't get on T. And that's, like, masculinizing your body, in my opinion. I've met butch lesbians that pass as a guy but aren't on T. I think that's, like, one of the common problems that butch lesbians have, really, is that they constantly get mistaken for men. If someone could remind me what her username is. Yeah, let me get you the link to her Twitter. If you'd like to follow Salty on Twitter, that's her link. It takes a long time for trans femmes to get their hair back if they can. Yeah, like, yes, it depends. I mean, it's been over a year since I've been off T, and I'm only just now starting to get, like, a couple hairs growing back in this space, you know? So if it happens, and, like, and I'm not using anything to help it. You can use a Rogaine, and you can, like, use your finasteride. Oh gosh. Well, I do have other politics stuff. There technically are other things that we could talk about today. Actually, how many things would I be skipping if I skipped stuff today? Real quick, I want to talk about this Molotov cocktail situation because it's fucked up. And I want to at least get through most of my notes for today before we beg off. Hey, if you're liking the stream, if you have not yet hit like on the stream, please do that. On the YouTube page, just hit like real quick. It's free. It's quick. It's clean and it's pure. Okay. So I saw this video on Twitter of the Donut Hole, which is a donut shop in not in Tesla. Jesus, my brain is fucked up from Twitter right now. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, was firebombed after it hosted a drag show. This is the inevitable outcome of the stochastic terror incited by Tucker Carlson, libs of TikTok, Christopher Rufo, and Matt Walsh. Stirring moral panics for political points has violent outcomes. I'm not entirely sure that this is not the same. This might be the same one that was broken into a few months ago. Like that they already had their window busted in like a month ago for hosting a drag show. So yeah, I mean, you saw the video. This person like comes up, they put a note on the door of the neighboring business and then busts out the door rather, like breaks the glass and then lights a Molotov cocktail and throws it inside. So, Jesus, don't ask me to subscribe to the Washington Post. Thank you. This happened at about 2:30 a.m. Yeah, it had been targeted again. So I do think that this is the one that recently had the glass busted in. This guy is scared. Well, what happened here is that I didn't listen to this with sound. I don't even know if there is sound. I'm assuming that once he broke the glass, perhaps some kind of alarm went off. Like he's like, oh, I've broken the glass. I've made a big noise. I got to get this thing finished now. So he starts rushing after he's done, like after he's broken the window. The person still has not been apprehended. The note that they posted on the door next door had like some religious stuff in it and like anti-trans stuff in it. It wasn't like the only thing that this event was just some people wearing their like 50s dresses, old style like 50s dresses. So it was even less weird and risque than drag does tend to be sometimes. The drag queens dressed in their best 1950s housewife outfits, and they served colorful ceramic donut sculptures. People lined up down the block hoping to enjoy this pop-up. The morning after the event, they returned to the shop finding the shattered glass. The motive behind the vandalism isn't clear. What do you mean? We couldn't work for a couple days because the weather affects the inside temperature and impacts the donut making. Locals helped pick up the mess. Children used chalk to draw rainbows and hope-filled messages outside of the donut hole. Donors quickly surpassed the goal set on GoFundMe to replace the glass, and the leftover $3,500 was donated by Swain and Hunter to Tulsa's Dennis R. Neal Equality Center. So that was when it broke in initially, when it was broken into the first time. And then when things seemed to be turning a corner, the donut hole was targeted a second time. The Molotov cocktail thrown inside didn't completely break, but it left behind traces of smoke and ash. Investigators still don't know who was behind the attack, but the person left, quote, an envelope with anti-LGBTQ messages and scripture. So hate crimes are on the rise. Basically, it's not a huge surprise or anything. But I wanted to bring attention to it because it's still happening. And unfortunately, we have to be aware of what's happening, because if you're not fully aware of what's happening, then you can't make safe decisions, you know? As much as that shit sucks. Luckily, he was an incompetent terrorist, yeah. He put a hate letter on the business next door, clearly a hate crime. Fire in Tulsa, this couldn't possibly spell trouble. Not at all, not at all. Senpi. Oh, is it Salty Senpi? Yeah, it is. Going to gay bars flaming at 2 a.m. True. A queer center in Idaho was attacked too a few days after the creator of Assigned Male Comics visited us. God, the fucking bullshit that people believe about Assigned Male Comics. Like, just because she's a little and, like, talks about it openly, like, oh no, how dare. Why are the liberals to worry about queer windows? Oh, where are the liberals to worry about queer windows? Yeah, you know, the fucking liberals are always out here, like, decrying leftists for doing fucking anything. Like, where's all the condemnation and, like, oh no, we gotta protect our gay windows. He made a subpar firebomb. He must have gone to school in Texas under Abbott. True. Oh my god. This is crazy. This one seems funnier, and then it's a lot less funny, you know? This one seems funnier. They're out to brunch at straight-owned establishments. True, God. And making the queers refill their mimosas. You're right, Game Gang, you're right. So a U.S. court says that a beauty pageant can exclude transgender women from its competitions. Now, we are not talking about Miss USA. We're not talking about Miss USA. This is Miss United States of America, LLC, which is a different pageant for some dipshit fucking reason. I'm glad nobody got hurt. Me too. So the operator of the Miss United States of America pageant can't be forced to allow openly transgender women into its competitions. Like, this is hilarious because it kind of makes it seem like, oh, trans women are too hot. Like, is that, like, you're not allowing trans women into this competition because like, you're admitting that trans women are too hot, like they're significantly hotter than cis women. It's a lot less funny than that in actuality, unfortunately, because the actual thing is that this is predicated on free speech. So here's the thing. Here's where it is. So the pageant expressly requires contestants to be, quote, natural-born females. And that... Oh, God, where was this quote? The panel noted that it is commonly understood that beauty pageants are generally designed to express the, quote, ideal version of American womanhood. Therefore, the pageant would not be able to communicate the celebration of biological women if it were forced to allow a trans woman to participate. So the panel concludes that forcing the pageant to accept Green as a participant would fundamentally alter the pageant's expressive message in direct violation of the First Amendment. So Miss Green sued them under the idea that in the state of Oregon, she was being discriminated against on the basis of transgender identity. Like, she was being disallowed from participating, or perhaps, like, I don't know, do they get paid for this? Is this like a job while they're actually doing the pageant part? Like, would it be the equivalent of of just not allowing someone a job because they're trans? But no, the argument that they're making is that, like, because the pageant represents the idea of womanhood, if a trans woman participated, then the free speech of the fucking corporation would be compelled or altered. Like, the idea that this has anything to do with free speech, like, to alter the pageant's expressive message in direct violation of the First Amendment. Like, we are fully on, like, corporations have the right to free speech that overrides anti-discrimination laws. No cesarean birthed competitors then? So people with XY chromosomes can't be beautiful? They just aren't women, according to, like, basically, like, it's their protected, enshrined right to say that trans women aren't women. It's their enshrined right to say trans women are men, and therefore they're allowed to discriminate against trans people. So it's like, initially it's cute and funny when you're like, wow, a pageant is disallowing transgender women. Wow, apparently trans women are just too fucking hot. But no, it's significantly worse. And this was the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco. This was a court based in San Francisco. Obviously it's an appeal court. Like, so that it's a circuit court of appeals court, which means that it covers perhaps several states in the west part of the country. But it's like the West Coast is supposed to be the one that's all fucking liberal and shit. But no. I got temp banned from r/TRAA for defending Sophie too much. Yeah. Too damn hot to compete in a mere mortal competition. True. So may beautiful men enter? What about ugly women? Yeah, no, it's just strictly about it's like if like they only allow natural born females in. Yeah, that's the cesarean joke. I joke, but this is pretty frustrating. What's up? I want to shoot. It's an awful mix between seeing corporations as human and also letting those quasi-humans be legally transphobic. Yeah. Like, I mean, you're just... Oh my God, that's actually really fucked up. Because on this basis, I guess Colorado isn't in this circuit appeals court. Because Colorado was where those cases were that were very, very famous about the cake guy. The guy who wouldn't make the cake for the gay couple or whatever. That was in Colorado. And I can't remember actually. I think he ended up losing that because he provides an accommodation. Like, he provides a public accommodation, and like disinclining to make the cake for a gay person is discriminating against gay person in public accommodations in some way. I kind of want to see what they'd do if a transmasc person felt comfortable trying to compete. I mean, it's just like, they're going to be like weird about it, but they'll allow it. And it's like, because they're like, well, that's a woman, I guess, you know? Transphobic companies are humans that have rights. Yeah, they have more rights than the people that they're discriminating against, actually. We only hire humans, and our free speech beliefs happen to exclude Jews from the definition of human, so it's not discrimination. Egg fucking exactly Nouvenal. Like, that is a huge problem. Oh my God. Like, the definition of human actually doesn't include pick your fucking poison. I was not about to get clipped out of context on that one. You tried to catch me. I saw you. I saw you waiting with your clickers. Next thing you do, they will give the corporations the right to, quote, religious objections as well. They already fucking do that, Mersh. Like, do y'all remember how Hobby Lobby is allowed to just not cover birth control for their employees based on their religious objections to it? Yeah, exactly. Max is there with me. Yeah, it's for sure already a thing that happens, and it's probably one of the most frustrating things about living in this godforsaken country. The idea that corporations have rights, specifically, is what I'm alluding to be clear. Yeah, no, Teaslers are monsters. I know, I've been one since 11 years ago. I love being like a we've been out for a long time trans person. Choking down the urge to call us the K word. You could see it in its eyes. I was actually just going to say black people. I was just going to pick a different demographic that wasn't Jews. And then I was like, don't say that. I love self-identifying as a monster. I mean, truly, this is part of why I like calling myself a tranny, is because I'm like, well, I mean, like, yeah, if you want to be like, oh, you're a big scary monster. Like, I think that Natalie said something kind of similar to this at one point. Like, if they're going to constantly accuse trans women of being like monstrous sex pests, then yes, at some point I'm just going to lean into it, because no amount of being like, ooh woo, I promise I'm not a sexual predator, is going to stop them from calling you that anyway. So at a certain point, you might as well be like, yeah, I'm just going to let the dong hang out on the timeline. I love the future in which some TERF found this, thought they caught you, and then heard you say that part. They're so predictable. I know. We need to boycott these damn corporations that discriminate. I've never set foot in Hobby Lobby, and I only went to Chick-fil-A once because they gave me a free sandwich for being a military officer. I do my best. Like, it's just like, it doesn't matter. Like, you'll like tell people what Chick-fil-A does with the money that they spend there, and they'll fucking still spend the money there, you know? To be clear, what Chick-fil-A spends your money on is they take the money and they send it to campaigns in Africa that have like previously and sometimes up to the current day advocated for making homosexuality like worthy of the death penalty. It's American propagandists who have made that happen in Africa, by the way. When you think of Africa as this horrendously regressive place where homosexuals get put to death, that's our fault as Americans. Hollow is a demon because it makes things easier for everyone in the system who's constantly demonized to feel good about existing. Yeah. It's like, I'm a monster. I'm a monster and I'm gonna lean into it. You can't stop me. If I'm a monster, then I'm gonna lean into being a Komodo dragon. I kind of wonder also if that's sort of what Jess and Xena are doing with the whole Godzilla thing, because they're always doing a Godzilla thing. They're like, it's a kaiju attack. We've all got our things. I'm a dragon. Demon Mama is a demon. Xena and Jess do their thing. I'm deer. Doe is deer. Vosh is a horse. True. Xanderhal is a chicken, obviously. Without context, that sounds like I'm calling him a name, but no, I mean, like, he's talking about farming chickens when he moves to Oregon. Or Washington. He's gonna move to Washington. Oh my god, I went to Chick-fil-A once and accidentally nip-slipped and showed my boobs to a whole family of Midwesterners and didn't notice till the mom told me. That's funny. I know a supposed ally, a friend, who still defends Chick-fil-A. No ally would eat that shit. I mean, like, there's just no argument that can be made. Like, once you go like, hey, bro, like, their money goes toward making the death penalty about gayness in Africa. True, Decoy Duck, true. No more horses. You don't exist at all. I thought Zan was Sonic. Probably. I tried Chick-fil-A once. Wasn't worth the genocide. It's just pickle brined. You know what's crazy is, like, I have a friend who really hates pickles. Like, I watched him eat a pickle and then immediately vomit it up. Immediately. Like, he couldn't even actually get it down. He tried to swallow it and, like, vomited instead. He was like, it's really hard to give up Chick-fil-A even though I am pansexual because it's so good. And I'm like, how do you love Chick-fil-A's chicken sandwiches when you are, you know what I'm trying to say? Oh my god. Dragons totally exist. I will not be told otherwise. Goodbye, horses. Speaking of, you can take those jars in your fridge and bring chicken with it. And brine chicken with it. Oh, yeah, for sure. I've never tried it before, but that would be good. Actually trying the pickle brine. Because, like, there's a reason why you do that, right? Doesn't it sort of change the protein structure a little bit? Or am I thinking of pineapples? Because I know that pineapples, like, pre-digest the food that you're brining it in. The chick sandwich was so wet, it was so gross. I don't get it. I went to Chick-fil-A last week and it felt so weird. I received a couple gift cards for there like 6 years ago, so they already got that money, but either way, it still felt wrong. Yeah, I could see that. It's like the money's already spent, so I might as well get the food, but like, I don't like, I also don't want to taint my body with that food. You know what I'm saying? Like, the cells from the Chick-fil-A are going to be part of my body, presumably for a little while. It salts it, as well as, like, compared to a marinade, the brine seeps into the chicken proteins because the salt water does the osmosis. Yeah. The salt water gets it into the, yeah. I should try that sometime. I don't normally do preparation of food that far ahead. Like, I don't typically think, oh, I'm going to cook chicken tomorrow, I should start brining it tonight. Maybe I should plan ahead a little bit more. Hollow only heard one good argument for eating that food. Its friend needed food, and the only thing anywhere nearby was the genocide restaurant. I guess that's fair, yeah. If I ever go to America, I'm going to have gay sex in the bathroom of a Chick-fil-A and steal some chicken to try it. That sounds fun. Well, we actually made it through most of the news today. We successfully made it to, like, just about the 4-hour mark on this stream, which is great because I have been so exhausted lately and I feel bad cutting off the streams after like 2 hours. So it's been so nice to hang out with you guys for longer. Is Five Guys a good fast food place? I like Five Guys okay. They're okay. They give you so many French fries. Like, so many French fries. We should start our own chicken, please, and support LGBTQ charities. True. Yeah, Five Guys is expensive too. Okay, we have been talking about food fucking on and off for like 2 hours now. I'm gonna go make some. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I have appreciated every single moment of it today. I will be seeing you again on Tuesday evening. As far as I know, from now on, the schedule is going to be the same. Of course, when I move, it'll be disrupted again. But yeah, we're back to 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And I appreciate you all hanging out. If I don't see you until next week on Sunday, that's totally fine. I still appreciate you hanging out. And we'll see you later.